going to be debating guns today. It's not a particularly favorite topic of mine, but here we are. All right. Announcements, events, participant, partnerships, self-roles, general debate, memes, no mic, lounge, music debates, one-on-one. I do not know where we went last time. So I shall ask. Do I have my TV remote on me? I don't. Oh, I need to get a wireless headset. Already got the wireless microphone. I need a wireless headset. I was using my Bluetooth. I don't even know where those are now. Oh, I'm almost done with this game. I'll be able to play the next Kingdom Hearts soon. That's pretty exciting. At least I'm excited. Oh, the town hall. All right. He says the town hall. I see it. Pop out. We shall change this to my pop out. And is everything showing in this? I don't think it is. Well, first of all, turn the app. Oh, I'm in the audience. That's why. Okay. Alrighty. Can I turn on the camera in the audience or no? Gotta wait till I'm in there? Cool. Fantabulous. Oh, there's a whole... Oh, okay. Never mind. Destiny Island. Isn't that where I'm from? wants all of his old friends.
I'm gonna wait for a few more people before we start.
Am I not in the audience no more? No, I am in the audience. He needs to pull us in if E of Beginnings. This is kind of cute. Why is there Heartless on Destiny Island? That's what I need to know. Alright. Get wrecked, get wrecked, get wrecked. Oh, they don't get affected. What is this shit? Courage. How strong is that? Except for when you miss one. On now. All right, come on, Forg, let us in. I want to debate. I didn't come here to just play Kingdom Hearts today. Yeah, you fucker.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Nerds.
So, who all is here to come up on stage and actually go in on this debate? Because I think that Tyler and Liberal Cluck would probably both. Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's what I figured.
How do I
Well,
let
it's
them
only
know?
us four at the moment, so everyone can come on up. Come on up here, Cluck.
Ow. Wait, how did I come up?
I'm
Okay.
gonna try my best to kind of mod this a bit, but I am a little sick, so I apologize if I sound like.
Alright.
I was wondering what happened to your.
Fuck
live
this
today,
boomer
actually.
shit. Oh,
Yeah.
he invited me and I had to accept. Damn, I'm such a boomer. Hi everybody.
Hey, Cluck. I think you're only 20 years younger than boomers, though. You missed that boat.
Look, if I can't figure out Discord, I'm a boomer.
Are you on your phone, though?
No, I'm on my computer.
Okay, that's kind of bad. Phones are a little difficult for this.
Phones are, the Discord app for the phone is fucking dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah, they're definitely working on it.
Are they? At least they know.
I'm guessing. Well, what are you guys' stances? Just curious. I don't really care. I mean, I'm cool with people owning guns. So.
I'll probably take a much more negative tone because I have a feeling that most people are pro-gun on here. Yeah.
Hardcore liberal, so all liberal principles.
We're gonna get Riddle coming on soon, and I know he feels very strongly about it. I would, but I don't really have the energy right now. Oh yeah, here's Riddle.
You just need to be able to click on people and kick them out. That's your job, Ford.
Yeah, I can do that.
If anyone says anything you oppose, you just kick them right out of this chat.
Do it. No free speech here.
Yeah, when Cluck beats Riddle in a debate, I'll just kick him out so we look good. Riddle, you there?
Yeah,
How do you feel about this topic?
I don't really give a shit about it.
I don't believe you. You're lying.
Do I sound like I'm lying?
You
Man.
had to pick a side.
If I had to pick a side for assault weapons, I mean, like, can we define assault weapons?
Axe, body spray, and a lighter.
Oh, ban it,
Long-barreled
ban it,
rifles with high
ban it.
capacity mag-
Do you know how many deaths are caused by that deodorant? Jesus Christ.
You said anything with high capacity magazines?
A long barrel rifle with a high capacity.
Oh, long. Okay. Okay.
And we're arguing it as semi-automatic, correct?
Yeah, I'm in favor of fully automatic being legal. So
Alright, interesting. I didn't expect that coming from you.
What? So you
You
did.
said fully automatic being illegal, you said, Tyler?
Oh, we-
no,
No, legal. He's all about the bump
Oh.
stock.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll take a bump off the bump stock.
Okay, so Tyler, you recognize that there is a cost to that kind of to people being able to own those kind of weapons, right? There's a societal cost.
To a degree, the data is kind of mixed on it a bit. There's some areas that have high crime with like strict gun regulations. There's some areas that have low crime with strict gun regulations, and vice versa.
But
I
yeah,
don't know if we really need to solidify it.
if you are looking at things on a city by city or even a state by state basis, then yeah, you're going to get those kinds of results because I think it's pretty impossible to enforce gun regulations on such a local level. Like, what good is Chicago banning guns if their town next door you can just go to a gun store and buy a gun?
I would
think
think,
Why go to the
I-
next town when you
I
can
would-
just buy it off Bobby in the alley?
I would think it would be easier to regulate at a local level
Why?
Well,
as
something
opposed
like
to a national level.
Same.
Why?
I was like 60% though that are straw purchases. He's definitely got a point. You can just go one state over, buy all your guns, load your trunk up, drive to Chicago, and sell them on the black market. It is definitely something I'm against. I am not for straw purchases.
Yeah. So that means that like the rest of the citizens should have to suffer because of that, right?
No, state gun registry, so you know where every gun is. If it's not reported stolen, you are held culpable for the crimes that were committed with the gun, and boom, problem solved. No more
yes.
straw purchases.
I think that's pretty fair.
Wait, you want a state what? Sorry.
State registry.
You
State
want a
registry when
national
you buy a gun.
registry?
No, I don't think the federal government should have access to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually agree with that.
If
Okay.
you want to buy a gun out of the state you live in, you have to access the registry of the state you live
Do you not think that if the entire country went fascist, the states wouldn't join them?
in. If the entire country went fascist, I don't think a state registry for guns is going to be the worst thing you have to fear.
True.
Liberal, do you support musket loaders?
What is that?
The guns that were from the Revolutionary War?
Oh,
I prefer flintlock over matchlock. Okay.
Well, you're fancy.
okay. So here's my position on it. I think that there is a great cost to us having access to guns that are able to let out so many bullets at such a fast rate. And I do not really see much benefit for American people to have access to that kind of, or really any type of guns. So really, I wouldn't care if they were to restrict all guns.
All
Yeah, I was gonna
guns.
say, because
Oh, wow.
based on you said that high capacity magazines, correct?
That was Tyler's definition.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say because a trained person can reload a magazine of any size in a very short period of time.
Okay, I mean,
The assault weapons ban from 2021, I think it was every semi-automatic weapon that there is out there. So if he was using that as his guide, then that would take care of that as well.
Wait, could you repeat that?
The assault weapons ban from I think 2021 was all semi-automatic weapons in the country.
In 2021, they banned all semi-automatic weapons from
No.
the country.
They proposed legislation. to
Oh,
then go-
okay, gotcha.
so I guess my question is, why keep guns being so easily accessible?
Personal security, and we don't ban things in the United States just because we don't need them. Otherwise, we
Well,
wouldn't have Facebook.
Well, I said there's a great cost to having them, and if you want to talk about that, we can.
I thought you meant the great cost was people's lives. That's
Yeah.
what you meant by that.
Yeah, innocent people's lives.
Like a social cost. Yeah.
Yeah. So either y'all can accept that, or we can talk about that.
I know, I agree with you, but well, no, there's just the simple fact that if someone has a gun, they can use it to take a life. But I feel that's part of the equation where how are you supposed to have a militia without it? It's a cost that comes with the option of a militia.
Mm-hmm. So
That's the constitutional argument. I don't think we've made it there yet.
yeah, I was gonna say, for you, it would be the militia that that makes the cost worth it.
Yes.
But,
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so.
but does the problem of violence stem from guns or other things?
It doesn't stem from guns, but guns make it a whole lot easier to make that violence deadly on a mass scale.
Does it depend on the type of gun that makes it easier?
I probably for the average person. I mean, I don't think that I'm going to be able to as easily kill a bunch of people in an area with a 6-shooter that I have to reload one bullet at a time, especially if I don't have one of those quick load things, as I would with a AR-15 that has a 15-round magazine or whatever the highest round magazine that's legal in most places.
Virginia Tech shooting was?
That was a pistol, wasn't it?
Yeah, 53, 55 deaths.
Yeah, with a 10 round magazine, right?
Yeah, would you consider that high capacity?
Yeah, a 9mm or whatever the hell he was using can kill somebody just as well as a AR-15. As a matter of fact, most gun deaths are caused by handguns. They're not caused by assault weapons.
Okay, so all right. So that's your reasoning for why you want to ban guns on all of them pretty much. Or
I
why you
am
wanna
saying
ban
that I
guns
am
on-
okay with people banning guns. I don't advocate for the position because it's an unpopular position, and I don't think that it's really worth the political capital to try and pursue.
It's fair enough. It's fair. If we
I
ban
agree
guns
with
from
everything you said.
if we ban
Sorry.
guns from civilians, what about the criminals who can still get access to them through illegal ways?
Well, if we ban guns from civilians, we wouldn't have so many guns on the streets for criminals to get a hold of in the first place.
What about the 200 million?
Hard argument, though.
You know there are more guns in the U.S. than people, right?
Yeah, there would definitely be
I think we can get rid of all of those and we can get them away from all the criminals.
at some point, if we're not manufacturing and selling them to people, then we would get rid of the mass majority at some point. Yes, for sure.
It's
I think
70% of
that-
gun crimes or illegal
I mean-
use guns are from straw man sales.
I can understand that, like the whole manufacturing and selling them to people, like especially across the world. However, we would be replaced by Russia or China or even Sweden. Sweden is a large
Maybe.
portion of them. Like they
Well-
would replace us. They would replace us in replacements with selling weapons to other countries. It's just inevitable. People are gonna make them.
I
In
think supply and
Chicago-
demand works on the black market, though. So if we get rid of the white market, yes, it's going to take the number of guns down. But when it comes to crime and criminal organizations, I'm not so sure that it would put that much of a hurt on them.
I think it would increase their business.
In Chicago,
Well, no, it would.
where gun laws are
He's saying it.
extremely strict,
100%
there's
right.
still gangs running around with extremely illegal guns. That none of
He's
them have been
100%
taken away
right,
from
though. If you turn off the nozzle, the guns stop coming in. Most of the illegal guns on the street are gone. Eventually, all the illegal guns on the street will be gone, given enough time since they're not raising it. Like, if Russia's making guns, how are they going to get them into the United States? They have to smuggle them in, and it's all black market activities. Then you have the police involved in, and then stop and frisk is justified since all guns are actually illegal, even if you think you have a permit. What he's saying is practical, absolutely, and it would probably save some lives in the long run. I agree with all that. I concede all that, and I still can make my argument.
I just disagree because they don't even implicate the stop and frisk anymore.
Yeah, I'm not really for stop and frisk, but everything else, I'm almost with you.
I
So
totally concede all that.
so what is your argument after conceding all that?
Well, if we look at most handgun deaths, a lot of these crimes are taking place by criminals. So no matter what legislation you put in place, criminals are going to ignore it. Granted, it might be harder for them to get a gun if they're all banned. They're still going to have access for at least the next 50, 60, 70 years. And with technology like 3D printers coming out, eventually you're going to be able to print your own semi-automatic long barrel rifle at home. So we cannot stop this. The best thing to do is try to figure out how to best live with it. So if you look at CDC numbers from the 2012 Obama administration that was studied again in a later study in 2014, we see that there's anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million defensive uses of a gun every year. The amount of self-defense that guns provide for people greatly outnumbers the amount of harm that comes from them. So just for cost-benefit analysis alone, the presence of guns protects more people than it harms.
What was the So I was reading up on self-defense versus like criminal use of guns. And the article that I read, and it was just a couple articles I read today, but the article I read said that a lot of these surveys that look at self-defense use of guns uses self-reporting after a criminal activity happened, and oftentimes people will embellish the extent to which they needed the gun for self-defense. Therefore, the numbers may not be as accurate as they could be. Do you have any insight on that?
That's fair.
Looking at even the lowest estimates on how many gun defenses there were in a year, the lowest estimate, some of the lowest range from 300,000 to 400,000, and the highest can go up to 3 million. It vastly outnumbers even on the lower side of things.
Outnumbers what though? Because the
Defenses.
500,000 to 3 million defensive uses of a gun a year. So a lot of these are how you qualify defensive use of a gun, and so some of it could be just somebody just putting their gun on their dashboard when someone's approaching their car. The person sees the gun on the dashboard, turns away. So yeah, it's not going to be like they're shooting their gun every time. Absolutely not. And also, self-reported data has that irreliability of somebody either talking the crime up to be worse, so they can be a victim, or talking themselves up to make them seem like the tough guy. So you're absolutely right. There does come with, but a lot of you'd be shocked at how much of our crime data in the United States, for like hate crimes and rape, a lot of that comes from the victimization surveys and not from the arrest data. So if you go to the FBI, you get all that arrest data and it tells you who was arrested for crimes, but like a third of the murders go unsolved every year. So we have no idea who's committing them. You can kind of guess based on geologic location and such, but so a lot of this information about these things that we don't actually arrest somebody for come from victimization data. The National Crime Victimization Survey is the biggest survey for that data. And if we start just cutting out data because of the and you're right.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, so to be clear, I am not saying that we should just throw out the data. I hate that. If the data is what it is, my thing is that is there a better survey out there that has a better methodology that we could use? The article that I read seemed to suggest that, but I didn't see anything from the article, so I'm not really sure.
I'm sure the article's right for a certain percentage. Let's say 15% of the people that said they used a gun. I'm sure that article probably covers that. Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't think that's the vast majority.
When it comes to that kind of stuff, I just wish they would clarify what gun violence consists of, because they never include suicide by gun. They just include that in the percentage of gun violence, which kind of
Isn't that
conflates
like
the entire issue.
15% of gun deaths?
It's a
I
large
think
portion
they-
of it. I didn't look at the
Well-
statistics lately, but yeah, if it's half the gun deaths, and they categorize that as gun violence, and that's a big problem in the media.
But if you're comparing instances of self-defense to gun deaths, then that's a really skewed comparison, because gun violence doesn't always result in a death, and oftentimes it's used as a power mechanism just to intimidate somebody into doing something they otherwise wouldn't.
Like what? What do you mean?
So, I mean, I can give you an example from like a personal example where my dad has used a gun in order to intimidate my mom. That's a thing that happens. People could use a gun, on the street in order to
Yeah,
rape
I see what you
somebody.
mean. Yeah, so that's
Um,
what I mean. So that's kind of my point. So I just wish like the media would stop using and conflating what gun violence is with certain scenarios. Like for example, every time I see something on the news, they'll report something about some kid usually dying by gun. Like recently, I think some kids were trying to carjack. I forget the exact article it was, but he unfortunately got shot because the other kid pretended to pull a gun on him. He got shot. I think the kid was like 13 or something like that, and the news reported it as gun violence. So, and then they start, spewing out statistics about like gun violence and kind of conflating it with with the whole crime wave thing happening or whatever, depending on that location, right? But they always conflate gun violence with, gun deaths.
I found the
It's
article you
it's
were
it's like an
talking about.
implication, yeah. I'm sure it's because it just came up recently, so I'm just kind of like, I just hate the way the media portrays that.
I hear your critique about the comparison, and I definitely sympathize it. So I could explain it a little better, but I don't know if I'm going to change your mind on it in that sense. Your critique is comparing all instances of gun self-defense versus just gun death, and it does seem a little skewed. But the implication when you pull out a gun and tell somebody you do this is, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. So that's kind of why I made that comparison, because the threat of the gun is the threat of death.
mhm.
So the amount of deaths that result of it versus the amount of, you don't know if someone pulls a gun on you, that it's kind of the Schrodinger's cat situation. Until they've shot you, while the gun's still pulled, they still could. At any point, you could be dead if you disobey them, give them the finger, charge at them, and don't do what they say. So that's kind of why I made that comparison. I don't know if that's enough to change your mind, but at least explain it.
Yeah, not really. I do think that the self-defense argument is the best argument, especially if you're like talking about how guns really are an equalizing force for people who may not be able to defend themselves with other types of weapons as well. But I still think that the cost is greater than the benefits. And I don't think that the data that we have, at least that I've seen, now I could be shown when I do more research on this, as I do more debates on this topic, maybe I'll change my mind in the future. But yeah, I don't think that comparing gun deaths with gun self-defense instances, which could be, as you said, as simply as putting a gun on the table or on your dashboard, and like how many of these self-defense situations actually required an escalation up to the point of death. We don't know this stuff from the raw numbers. Like Riddle was saying, having more detailed information would be useful.
Yeah,
I
and
sent one earlier.
yeah.
It says around 500,000 to 3 million. These cases are not based on hearsay, but on verifiable reports found through public sources. I sent it in the voice chat thing.
Okay.
Can you read some clippets of it, or like what is it? What is that for?
I
Yeah.
think that's the follow-up study to the CDC study that was done that he cited.
The CDC.
Yeah, according to the CDC, almost every major study on defensive gun use has found that Americans use their firearms defensively between 500,000 and 3 million times per year. There's good reason to believe that most defensive gun uses are never reported to law enforcement, much less picked up by local or national media outlets.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Why
that's
is the CDC doing that study?
yeah. It is strange, right? That is odd. Right?
It's kind of their job to a degree. The CDC
Oh, yeah.
studies like things that are
Gun
ailing the
violence.
American.
Gun violence is a disease. I
Center
guess.
for Disease Control.
No, it's not a disease, but their role is expanded past their title slightly.
Exactly, and I think that's the problem.
Bureaucrat.
That's a whole different topic. But yeah, I definitely think that's way too much government expansion for my taste, especially with what they're implementing in the airports as a trial run. But that's another topic for the CDC specifically.
While you guys are reading that, or go ahead, Tyler.
No, you're good. You're good to talk.
Does anyone here own a gun, and if so, what is the relationship to those guns?
I don't, but
So
I will
I'll go
do
first.
one as soon
I
as
own weapons,
completely.
and I take care of vermin on the property with it to protect crops. I also hunt with it to harvest and eat, and I also have weapons for personal protection on outings.
Personal protection. That's it. I don't even take it out for anything else. Don't show people.
Yeah, pretty much this. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't own a gun. Never felt the need to have one.
I grew up in a rough neighborhood in Buffalo,
personally.
so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't personally own a gun, but my family owns multiple. Like we use them for hunting, for just like my dad likes to. He has a ammo business, so he uses it for that as well, like testing his patterns. So for livelihood, and then he uses it, I guess, for self-protection. We have them at the house in case if there is ever an altercation. We have it there to protect ourselves, and I do want to get a handgun for concealed carry in the future for protection.
Does anybody?
Yeah,
go
speaking
ahead.
of which, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm going to throw it a little bit off topic, so you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Considering that the VI, for self-protection, obviously, I was gonna say that I think that gun ownership for self-protection is especially the best towards women. Because I think that you talk
Absolutely.
about the great equalizer, right? It's like pepper spray and maybe a taser is just not gonna cut it. It just
That's-
won't.
yep.
pepper spray.
It just won't. Like so.
Yeah,
I just think. But when
yeah.
people see a gun, like it gives a woman the best chance of survival if she's attacked by herself or a group of women. But
Don't get a pea shooter though. Get something big.
Sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah, just disguise it as like an umbrella. Just be like.
That's too
But anyways,
funny.
yeah, I just think that I think women nowadays, especially considering that the amount of like assaults that they have to go through, I think
Absolutely.
that they should absolutely have they'd have probably the best argument for gun ownership.
Well,
Ab-
here's another thing is I was looking a lot into Australia when I was reading a lot about
Oh,
gun
interesting.
control.
Mhm.
And back in 19 oh hold on.
Mhm.
As we project into the future, beta males are going to have the same problem.
Sorry,
Sorry,
I'm back.
wanted to say that.
Sorry, my bad. Got a little of an interruption, but I forget the exact date. I think around 1986, 1985. The year before, there was a huge mass shooting in Australia, and what they decided to do was to ban assault weapons. And what happened is the gun deaths went down. They went down quite a lot. The deaths overall did not, or the homicides. Sorry, the homicides. The deaths went
A
down.
little bit,
The gun
sort of.
deaths.
They were declining. They didn't decline
Yeah, and then
at
they
any
went back
faster
up.
of a
Yeah.
rate. They were still declining. Same thing with our assault weapons ban here. Homicides and murders were declining before the assault weapons ban. We banned them here. They were still declining after the ban, just not at much of a faster rate at all.
I'll
if
have
at
to
all.
read actually what I wrote about that. It would definitely help me a lot.
Yeah, but you mentioned that they went back up for it, didn't you?
They went down a little bit before the ban, and then they went back right back up to normal for homicides in general.
Wow.
Which is strange. It's like they're just finding finding new methods to kill, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is actually very true in China. Like you're talking about mass deaths. It sounds a little bit odd, but yeah, people go to schools. It's very common in
The
China,
problem is,
and
right?
they'll go into a school with machete and just massacre the kids on massive scale.
In Canada, what like less than a year ago, wasn't there a guy with a knife who killed like 13 people?
Damn.
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot, but unfortunately, it's never reported on because, in my opinion, okay, just in my opinion, that the media really has a gun control agenda, at least in my opinion. They don't
Mm.
focus on the other deaths, but they focus on this currently. So that's just my
Yep.
perception of how it goes, which is unfortunate because it just seems like an erosion of the Second Amendment and the trust in it. You know.
Scarier situation in your mind: somebody breaking into a place or coming into where a crowded place and trying to kill a bunch of people with a knife, or someone going into a crowded place trying to kill a bunch of people with a gun.
Do the people have guns?
Let's say that the people, there is at least one person with a similar weapon as the other person.
In
Well,
all circumstances, the gun's scary.
whoa. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I-
a gun is certainly much scarier, but I believe that they would also be less inclined to go into there knowing that that person has an equally scary gun.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, it's a hypothetical situation, right? But that's just my interpretation of it. If this person
To
knew that
answer,
other people are allowed to carry, I doubt that that person would certainly think twice about going into that place, knowing that they could be shot dead before they shoot anybody.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree.
I wouldn't be scared in either situation.
Because you
I
carry,
would.
right?
Well, even if I couldn't carry, my mind goes into in fight or flight. It's the tactic of how I'm going to kill this person or take this person down, even if even if I die in the process. And when you go into that, even if you're going to get shot to death on the way, you can still fuck somebody up before you're dead.
That's fair, but not everybody thinks that way, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
You
crazy, I guess.
have a good conviction. No, you believe in a very good thing, and that's why it probably gives you the strength to think that way. But not everybody does, especially these days, right?
Well, at
Mhm.
the same time, I'm supposed to turn the other cheek, not choke a bitch. So
We can't do more than
So-
just choke a bitch, right?
I'm gonna get really callous here. Don't take this as like I actually am like just saying these statistics because I don't care, but I'm just gonna make a bunch of deaths in the numbers here. So if we go through the FBI data on mass shooters that aren't gang related, aren't drug related, whatever crime related, and they're like the crazy people going into schools and shit like, and their workplaces to shoot up people for seemingly no reason. If we look at that and we parse it out through the 20 years of this FBI data, the amount of people under the age of 14 that die in a school shooting is 6 or 5 point something, less than 6 a year. And it's like every one of them, all 6 of them are bad, and every school shooting that involves a kid is bad.
Oh,
is
yeah, yeah.
extremely rare by comparison. It's like almost
Yeah.
one. There's 48 million people in school, and kids that are younger than that and whatnot. 48 million people that are considered children in the United States. It's almost 1 in a million that you're going to get shot at your school in a year. So it's not really it's the worst. It's the biggest thing in the media. But if you look at like the actual gun data from where am I look? It is the CDC again. In 2018, they found almost 2/3 of firearm deaths averaged out between all the states were from illegal firearms, and about 60% of the inmates in most states were in there for possessing, at least as a secondary crime or the primary crime, possessing an illegal firearm. So
Right.
I'd say that's an argument, A, that the system is working, and B, that eventually we can filter all these people out. We have to stop them from getting legal guns. And so we should put the focus to cut this crime down on the straw purchasing. And that's what I'm saying. State registry for every single state if you buy a gun, and if your gun is used in a crime and you didn't report it stolen, you are held as an accomplice to that crime.
Yeah, if Billy Bob starts reporting his gun stolen every week, we should be able to pay attention to him, huh?
Yeah,
What if
exactly.
what if it was like a registry to the manufacturer, or like I should say the shop owner themselves, not the shop owner. Now this is hypothetical. I just like trying to think of it like, what if instead of like a registration to the government itself, it could be like, what?
If
I
you're
don't know.
selling a guy $20,000 worth of goods at your store, are you going to go ahead and turn around and report the guy, hoping he doesn't come back and spend another $20,000? I don't trust the owner of a business.
Oh no,
or
no, I
the
don't mean like that.
manufacturer to be in
But
charge
no,
of that.
I don't. No, I don't mean it like that. I'm not trying to say like that guy would just report him for buying all that shit. But then again, I guess somebody could just steal your gun, and then it would. Yeah, okay, never mind that one. All right.
I mean,
Yeah, you
people
need
that are gonna perform an evil act are gonna find a way to get to
Yeah.
perform that act.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Speaking of which, I mean, lots of people have like gun safes, and for somehow, like a buddy of mine a couple years ago, twice he got robbed, and he had a good stockpile of guns. So it's kind of interesting that even if you're like a legal gun owner, which he is, he's a responsible gun owner, a Democrat guy. But he got robbed 2 times of like a huge arsenal of weaponry that he had, and so who knows what the hell's happening with those guns right now?
So
They're probably being sold.
let me ask real quick. If we were to get rid of large capacity magazines, do you think that would if we were to get rid of guns that can have magazines, any magazine, do you think that
Any
would
magazine?
yes, any magazine that includes
You
handguns?
have to put.
So no bullets.
You have to chamber the bullet every single time you fire.
Well, you could have a
Even bolt
revolver.
action, have three chamber bolt action, stuff like that.
Okay, so
And you
bullet
can have
actions.
revolvers, but still. So
If we were to get rid of that, do you think that the people's ability to use firearms for self-defense purposes is greatly hindered?
Yeah, depending because yes, I would say so. Because I mean, say there's an increase in home invasions lately, right? And this is not hypothetical. This is at least in California, anyways. I can only speak for my own state, right? And usually it consists of at least 2 or 3 people. Now, say you have a handgun, and I think the cap is 10 here, right?
It'd be 6 because it'd be a revolver.
A revolver. I'm talking about just a regular handgun pistol, say 9mm or whatever. The standard is 10, right? Any higher than that is illegal in California.
I mean, magazine. You'd have to get rid of all the 9mm and everything. You'd have to go
Yeah.
back
So
to
in my world, you wouldn't have the 10 magazine. You'd have a revolver or a shotgun without a magazine.
That makes it even more dangerous.
No.
I would say.
What you have to know that is like when you get into shotguns, you get professional shotguns for sport. You have a Morelli that's got a 10-round chamber with a speed load, and you can start unloading as long as you have bullets on your belt. You're unloading. It doesn't take downtime.
Yeah. So something
it'll
like
just
that
change-
would
it'll change your
probably
tactic.
something like that would probably also be banned in my world that I'm bringing up.
You're going to have so much time regulating and putting things on a ban list and keep updating it, and you're going to get down to muzzle loaders at a certain point.
Well, no, because
something
maybe if the problem still persists, but what I'm asking is if we were to have this world where the spirit of what I'm trying to do is implemented, would the people's ability to defend themselves be greatly hindered? That's what I'm
If
asking.
guns were equal, if the guns were equal in your world on both sides, they would have a fair fight.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
How
If someone's
many?
coming into my house and my kid's sleeping, I don't want a fair fight. I want the best tool that I can use to fight
Exactly.
against.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how many of these home invasions actually end in a gunfight where the owner is shooting more than one person? Y'all know?
I have no
very
idea.
few. It's probably within a couple thousand a year.
In California,
But
probably
if
not a
you've
lot
ever shot
considering
a
how.
pistol, sorry, Riddle, if you've ever shot a pistol, 6 bullets isn't going to be enough to,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
even when
not.
you're shooting at a
it
target,
really isn't.
It's
you
really
realize
not.
how crap it is.
Yeah.
50 got
yeah.
shot 9 times and he's still out there rapping.
Okay.
So,
So
I mean, if you're
what I'm
going
saying.
killing powered as opposed to stopping powered, it also depends on like the type of,
Round.
gun.
What I'm saying is that usually just having the gun, no matter what kind of gun it is probably going to be enough to just scare the people away. And watching your friend get shot is also probably going to be enough to scare the people away. In like 95% of the situations.
I mean, it's a fantasy world. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Having the gun and it's probably going to be enough. And especially if you like have a situation where you got 3 people breaking in and you just shot one of their friends, that's probably going to be enough for the people to just leave and run away.
But the keyword is
or-
probably. But the
You
keyword is
should
probably.
bank on the
You never
fact
know.
that you
What-
probably won't die.
Sure, but like having a AR-15 with 15 rounds doesn't guarantee that you're going to survive that encounter either.
It makes it a lot better for you. The odds shift in your favor so much more.
I don't.
Increases your chance. And I don't believe AR-15s are really high powered, anyways.
You
Well,
guys,
they
you
are,
guys need
they
to
are. The
factor
round is
in
small,
what
but
the
it's
guns
I
are
don't-
built for.
It's
I
You
don't.
guys are talking about close combat indoors with an assault rifle. At that point, the person with the 9mm pistol is going to wreck you. So
Yeah.
I mean, or the guy with the shotgun's really going to wreck you. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
If
it's
you're
hard.
at the
It's
end
hard
of a
to
hallway,
think about
posted
these
up,
worlds.
waiting for them to walk up the stairs. If your layout of the house has like a 25-foot hallway, that handgun's going to be a little bit inaccurate at 25 feet, where that rifle's
Shit.
going to be spot on and easier to aim.
I'll take the submachine gun.
Dude, if a guy comes in my home and he has a pistol, I'm not gonna take a pistol. I'm gonna take the AR-15. There's no way that a pistol would be better in that situation.
I want the most accurate and most likely to kill the person invading my home.
I think either one. I think either one is fine for home defense. Like I think both
Either
of them
one
are
is
going to
fine,
have
better than the other.
I think both of them are going to. I think that one is overkill, and the
I would
other one
actually-
is completely adequate.
In home defense, I would actually probably take the pistol because if you know your house well, you can hide in certain spots, and you can't really hide as well if you have an extended rifle. Basically, it'd be harder. Let's just say that. I mean, because you're thinking of like hallways, right?
Isn't a shotgun statistically the best home defense weapon?
If you have
probably
an open
probably a
range in
sawed-
front of you,
Depends.
probably
you
a
have to
sawed-off.
be down the hall. It's all situational.
Yeah, it is.
A factoid we're skipping over here about the AR-15 is that these bullets are so high powered sometimes, especially if it's a 5.56. You're shooting through your own walls. You could hit your family member. A
That
shotgun, on
happens
the
with
other
any
hand,
gun.
But
It
you could,
does.
you could do that with a
So-
9
So at
and a
that
shotgun.
point, so at that point, then the debate becomes about the caliber of the bullet as opposed to the weapon itself, right?
Not just the
Shotguns serve
caliber,
kills.
but the payload and all of that.
Yeah. So it becomes in the ammo, which I believe a lot of legislation has been passed on ammo as opposed to like the weapons themselves. At least in California. Again, I can only speak for that
Yeah.
state.
You hit somebody with 60 BB, they might go through your wall a little bit, but they're not traveling nearly at the speed as that other bullet. And they're going to fuck somebody up. They're not going to continue moving forward. You hit it with 40 BB.
Well, if you're
Like,
afraid of
at this
shooting a
point in
family
time,
member
what are we
through a
actually
wall, you
arguing?
shouldn't own any gun. It's gonna
He's
happen.
What are we
arguing
arguing
if getting
at this
rid
point?
of, his point is that he's trying to get to here is that if you get rid of this top tier, is anybody really hindered in self-defense?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
For
I don't
anybody that
wanna
starts to learn weapons, an
It's
AR-15 isn't even really a top tier weapon.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you're talking about AR-15s, right?
It's the most popular gun in the country. There's like 30 million of them out there. That's kind of why it gets brought up a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't believe that it should be banned though.
Yeah.
I think you would have. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Because again, that's a situational, like thing, right? With self-defense, it depends on the scenario. It depends on
Well, here's the
everything.
thing: is
So-
the AR-15 90% of the time is the best weapon. It's easy to use. It's extremely deadly. It can hold quite a few magazines. Anyone can use it. It's really easy to
Yes.
use.
So my
Okay,
thing is,
Ford, I got a question for you. What
Okay.
what are all of the component brands that make up your AR-15? Are they good ones? Are they shitty ones? Are they well cleaned and taken care of? Is it going to jam on you? Or do you just grab it and it's a miracle weapon?
It depends on where you buy it and how well you take care of it.
Damn straight.
so
What about 3D printed?
3D printed?
I don't know.
I'm
I don't know, and for the
You
record, I
get-
don't
you-
know.
You can get you can get one shot off, right?
so
Yeah, I've
Probably.
actually seen people like use them fully auto. Those things are pretty cool.
I'm going
Well,
to
then they would have to ban the 3D printers. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to give you a scenario that basically it's a hypothetical that makes the results of the ban the most favorable that it could possibly be for my side. And I just want to see what you guys say to this, so that I can kind of see where your positioning is compared to how you weigh these things. So if we were to get rid of all like high capacity guns, any gun that can
High capacity or just magazines? in
oh my
general?
gosh, high capacity magazines and high capacity like shotguns, clips, and I don't know what the chamber in the shotgun's called, where that holds the shells. But if we were to get rid of all that,
Or used to feed into the magazine.
okay, if we were to get rid of all that, the highest capacity you have is a 6-shooter revolver, and then you have single shot bolt action rifles that can't carry more than one bullet at a time. You have shotguns that can't carry more than 2 bullets at a time. And
Okay, well then you have the people from Chicago with 50-round drum mags on their Glocks with a full auto switch.
okay, those would be that illegal, but I know that they would have it. But let's say
Don't give a fuck if
let's-
something is illegal. All it's doing is hindering.
I understand.
Let him finish
Or
his point.
let's say we live in that world, and then we go through that period where all the guns are starting to get taken off of the street, and we find that guns are still able to be used effectively for self-defense in most scenarios, but also gun crimes start going down significantly. So
Crimes won't go down, and they won't be better in self-defense or the same as it is right now. It's just it's a false scenario.
yeah, so but let's pretend that this is a thing that happened. Would you support the policy?
No, because when it comes to a militia, I'm absolutely fucked. If
Okay.
The government comes against the people.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Unless
there's
they
also
only
the side of tyrannical
People with
government.
self-defense,
Okay. All right, so even in the most perfect utopian gun policy I could come up with that allows both self-defense for individuals and gets down gun crime significantly, y'all still won't support it because of the idea of a militia. So I guess we can move the conversation onto that.
I'm not on the militia. I could answer on topic real quick before you do. I don't think it's adequate. I don't think I want the best tool designed for killing to defend my family. I don't want to be on a fair fight with somebody. I don't want to have 2 revolvers. I want to be able to use something that's going to overpower them, especially if there's more of them. I have the home field advantage already. I know the layout of the house better. I don't want to be in a fair gunfight. I want them to die or get the fuck out of my house. And sometimes just firing your gun isn't enough. Sometimes there's a reason for them to be there. Maybe you got $100,000 and it's worth them maybe getting shot a couple of times. There's a lot of cases where people get hit with shotgun and handguns and don't even realize and just keep moving forward. I watch a lot of police shooting video, and people get hit with like 6, 7 bullets.
That's true. Shock value is pretty crazy sometimes.
So
Yeah.
I want something that's gonna put them down. I don't
Yeah.
want to just win the gunfight.
So
want to
I-
put them down and save my family.
I hear you, but in this scenario, there is a great societal gain from these policies, and you're not really you would continue paying that societal cost for that benefit of not having, you're not being without adequate protection, because in this world these are adequate protections. You want the overkill even at the societal cost of these guns.
I mean, let's game that out. Like, if you take those guns away, and let's say hypothetically they do disappear from the street in 50 years, the same amount of gun attempts of gun crime are going to happen with the same guns that they're still available with. You're just limiting the people that are shooting more than, let's say, 5 people, and that's like a very small percent of gun violence in the country. It's mostly like smaller gunfights where only 1 to 2 to 3 people die. So even the vast majority of gun crime is not hindered by this policy. The only people that are hurt by it are the legal gun owners that are buying the guns that aren't really being used for crimes that often. I think we see like 400 assault rifle deaths or long barrel rifles deaths in a year, and that includes all long barrel rifles, including single shot. So if you do keep these single shot rifles around and just revolvers around, you still have extremely high capacity guns out there. The 357 Magnum is like one of the strongest handguns out there besides a Deagle. And some of these hunting rifles use 308, which you can get as a citizen. 308 is going to rip somebody apart. It's going to make an AR-15 look like a pea shooter.
Yeah, but
And these are
Tyler,
all still gonna-
you know that not many people are going to be able to shoot the broadside of a barn with that gun because it'll probably snap their wrist.
For sure, but like, you know, some criminal definitely has probably got some forearms on him, you know, especially the jerk off hand when you're in prison.
Whatever. Fair point.
Do you think that there's be a lot of like drive-by shootings with the guns that would be left in the world like this, and with what
I
weapon?
think it's just kind of silly to talk about a hypothetical scenario that'll never happen.
Well, the point of the
Yeah. Because I could counter it with another hypothetical by saying, yes, of course they would, because other countries, again, would reproduce the guns and replace it. So, of course I would. You could easily just counteract with another hypothetical.
Well, the point of the hypothetical is to put you in a situation to where the societal cost is completely, it's dampened while keeping the self-defense. Just so I can see like where your values are lying around this gun these gun situations. So what Tyler
banning guns for civilians, sure.
What Tyler is saying is that this policy just wouldn't be effective because of reasons that he's already explained. So that pretty much kind of null and voids the policy, I guess. I mean, the hypothetical baked into this policy working. So I guess.
Those guns haven't been around forever, and people have innovated, sometimes legally and sometimes illegally, to make guns that are less dangerous more effective. On top of that, we have 3D printing. We're probably a decade away. Right now, you can print a gun, but it only gets one shot off. I think it's the firing
Oh, you
pin.
can make them
Somebody
fully
can
auto, I
correct-
think.
But no, like there's a piece that you can't actually print. You have to go buy it.
Oh
put it
yeah,
in
you
your
have to
gun,
buy
you
some
shoot it once.
pieces. Yeah.
Once you shoot it once, the gun doesn't work anymore. You have to print a new. We're probably 10 years away still from fully automatic guns being printed. Right now, only about 40% of the illegal guns used on the street come from out of the country. That number will go up. As soon as you curb straw purchases, you're going to have to solidify and secure the border, because illegal guns are going to the demand is going to be there for them, for criminals especially. So this really has to come with tight border. I'm trying to help your policy out here.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
cartel's probably
Yeah,
not
that's
going to.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
it's under
saying.
the
It's like even if you stop production, if the U.S. stops selling, guns to the world and whatever, and the black market just keeps, if we're the main source of the black market of guns, and we stop that on the white market, I just don't believe that it's gonna really solve the problem, because it will be replaced by other people, and with the increase of 3D printing and how impressive it is, it will be shipped illegally, considering how small the parts are, right? By 3D printing, that's just another factor. It doesn't even have to be 3D printed. They're just gonna figure out ways to smuggle it. It doesn't matter. There's so many guns already in existence that stopping off the main production and selling it to other countries is not gonna help.
It comes
it
down to
easy.
the hearts of men.
In his hypothetical, it's like 50 years down the line when we've already started this process and removed a lot of those guns already. So we're
In a
talking
perfect
like
world.
80%. Yeah.
In
that's
a
the
perfect
hypothetical.
world. Yeah, in a perfect world, sure. I mean, that would be great, but you're thinking of like how the world should be and not how the world is,
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just trying to test your values, because I give you a hypothetical that bakes into this policy is going to work to hamper the societal costs, but And it might not. I was just seeing if like, because it seems to me, because everyone keeps trying to change the hypothetical, either people here don't know how to engage with a hypothetical, or they don't
But how do you
it's
know
not
how to engage with the hypothetical? It's a hypothetical. It's all theory. So how do you
well.
properly engage with that?
Well, I mean, I told you what I was testing for. I was testing for your values.
You
Like,
just, you
no,
just,
if
you just
you're
didn't hear what you wanted to
no,
hear.
no, no. If your value of was just, I just want self-defense. I want this to be able to defend myself, and that's why I want these high-capacity guns. And I bake into the hypothetical that you're going to have the same capacity to defend yourself. But you're sitting there trying to pick apart the hypothetical, trying to tell me why you wouldn't have that. Then, like, it seems to me like there's something about guns that you're just you're just wholeheartedly going to always defend, regardless of whether or not you're going to have the ability to defend yourself and when the law is passed or not.
If there's a societal benefit, sure, there isn't. What do you define as a high capacity magazine, Cluck?
I mean, I've already went through that like 3 times.
No, you didn't. You haven't said how many rounds does a magazine have to hold in order to be classified as a high capacity magazine?
I said get rid of.
His hypothetical was all of them, anything with a clip at all. He wants revolvers and one-shot
No,
rifles. only.
don't say clip.
And
That's not
two-shot,
accurate.
Yeah,
two-shot, two-shot shotguns also.
Yeah.
Double barrel
Two
shotguns.
revolvers with 6 rounds, fine.
Yes, that
I
was
just
a
think
part of the
that's
hypothetical.
That's
Just
just
say
not enough.
anything over
But
6
like going through this defeats the purpose of the hypothetical.
Well,
So
then,
to give you-
then you go ahead.
You answering yes to this does not it does not give me the right to say, oh well, then we should implement these policies, because this isn't me testing whether or not you like these policies. This is me testing whether or not self-defense is like your main drive for defending guns.
But it's not a yes or no hypothetical, is it?
What do you mean?
It's not a yes or no hypothetical.
It was my question was, would you support these policies?
But isn't there more nuance than just a yes or no like that? The way you portray it just doesn't come off as a yes or no answer. Like,
Okay.
sorry that we're not giving you the answer that you want, but it's
Okay, I mean that's fine. I'm used to people not engaging with hypotheticals. It's a thing that I deal with a lot.
They did.
We did engage with it.
and they gave-
Well,
they
yeah,
gave
so-
you
So
their-
what hypothetical
their
are we
right
trying to engage with?
Some people did.
Their answer was constitutional.
I
Their
engaged
answer
with
was
it too.
constitutional, and then I jumped back into the topic. So they did give you the answer at first.
Okay.
They said that it's more of a militia-based thing for them, and that's.
I think one person said that, but yeah. Okay.
I think it's just
I
insufficient.
just want to weigh in one more time on the hypothetical. Like, in the perfect world where you can control the aspect of everybody having the same gun, that's cool. The only thing I have that's a concern is what happens if we create that policy, everybody gives into it, and then it doesn't work. It's too late.
I mean, yeah, but like I baked in it worked in the hypothetical just because I wasn't testing for whether or not this is a good policy, because there's probably a plethora of reasons why that policy would be bad in y'all's mind. But I was testing like your values around the gun.
Well, we said no.
Okay, but
I think
like,
we can move on to the militia or something at this point.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so militia. I think that the self-defense argument is probably the best argument for guns. I think that the militia argument is probably one of the dumbest. The idea that we can actually, we would actually stand, okay, so first of all, if we ended up with a tyrannical leader in our government, that they would have to get the military to agree to do horrible things to American citizens. I put a little bit more faith in the men and women of the military. Maybe you guys don't. To where I
1940. So did the British. When they came over to America after we came.
yeah.
Other countries.
America's an exceptional country. I mean, all right. So
That doesn't mean it's not susceptible to like fascism, right?
okay. Well, I think there is some level of susceptibility, but I don't think that it's to a level to where it's worth paying the societal cost that guns charge. in order for us to maybe have a chance. So that's the first point. The second point is that if the military did go along with it, we wouldn't have a shot at taking down the U.S. government, the United States military with a bunch of random people, with guns.
The don't bet on me, boys. You'd be surprised.
If
Even
what?
though they're going to lose,
Hey,
but
Tyler,
they're
see
going
you
to do it
soon.
anyway.
Wait, why would we not stand a chance?
Because you would be fighting F-15s. I think that's the
No,
military.
you wouldn't.
You don't
They're
think?
not
Really
gonna-
think?
no, 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 no,
Really
no, no, no.
think that
Wait,
the
wait, wait,
military
wait,
is
wait,
going to
wait.
bomb
Let me respond
civilians?
to that. Let me respond to that. Let me respond to that. They're not gonna bomb civilians if it becomes a fascist government. They're gonna do what every other fascist government did and go to every house they can and try and take your guns away. They're not gonna bomb their own people. That's ridiculous.
Why would they not? It's a tyrannical fascist government that we're defending against. Why would they not
Tyrannical
use?
fascist governments bomb their own countries? No, they get
No,
control.
we,
of
If
we're,
they're-
we're,
They
we're
don't
going
bomb
too
their
far.
own people.
Hang on,
I think we're
real quick,
going,
guys, one at a time.
If
I think we're going too far with the concept that the government's gonna, bomb our civilians. Let's start with the military. And as somebody who has many friends who are in the military, I can confirm that the military cannot bomb our civilians because you're gonna have many people inside the military themselves who are gonna turn against this and be like, hey, I'm not killing my own people. I'm not killing my own parents, my brothers and sisters. There's no way I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna resign or I'm gonna rebel against my commanding officers. That's not.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
that
if like.
Which, by the way, just to your point, I gotta add that I think it's a good idea to have that in the Constitution to be able to have a militia because it will deter the government from becoming a tyrannical one.
And many states have government militias. Like I have my friend in Mississippi. The militia unit he's in is recognized by his governor. Same thing here in Texas. We have many militias recognized by the governor. So it's going to be incredibly difficult for the federal government to even plan something like that.
Yeah, I honestly, I agree with you. I do not think that we are at a very large risk of a tyrannical government being able to sick our military on us because I don't think that the military would go for it. Therefore, the guns are kind of unnecessary in my mind for this purpose.
Oh, I was muted.
Okay,
I think if
But the guns are much more than it's also personal security. It's not just like tyrannical government's one thing. Many people use it for a variety of other things, whether that's sporting, hunting, but mainly self-defense.
Well,
This is the reason why.
Sorry, Winton. You were here a little bit late, but we did cover the self-defense thing. We've moved on to militia because we kind of rested it.
Alright, well,
Okay.
here's
Am I
my
allowed to
thoughts.
say, am I allowed to say something as a logistics nerd, real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
It's much easier to have a militia than a well-formed army, because militias would rather fight guerrilla and live off the land. Which is a problem with militias, is they're not well kept like the military. So militias tend to be much more radicalized. It's unfortunate, because if we look at 1776, when we were fighting the War of Independence, yes, a militia made sense back then, when it was only colonists with muskets. But militias have kind of started falling apart into more radical groups recently.
Isn't our militia our state?
Yeah.
You'd have to be radical in the first place to even form a militia.
Yeah, but they become super more one-sided or two-sided, and they side with political parties, not the ideology of the nation.
Yeah, that's exactly why a militia would be formed against a tyrannical government.
Well, it doesn't
Yeah,
say
yeah,
it's only a militia that you need to fight against a government. It also says it's the right of the people to keep and bear arms.
Well, it's all one sentence. Wait, so yeah, that's getting into the Constitution aspect. But the idea, yeah, I mean, it sounds like people are agreeing with me that the idea that we would be able to actually stand up to the U.S. military, except for
New Mexico, who removed the right of guns for a week. You don't think that was fascist?
remove the right of guns for a week.
Yeah, they took away the Second Amendment. Let me find it. Let me find it.
I think that going against the Constitution can probably be considered a local doing a local fascist.
And since we're speaking on the topic of militias and military, I would also like to demolish a misconception that's very common, that just because you're in the military doesn't mean you're an expert. And there was actually a gun manufacturer explained this, that many people think that, just because you're in the military and just because you join, like, I don't know, Marines, Army, infantry, or special forces, you're this badass person who knows the ins and outs of combat, which is partially true, but is not entirely true. Anybody can train. If anybody puts in the effort and actually trains, which a lot of Americans are now starting to do, then the military is going to have a serious problem if they were actually going to go against the citizens of America. So, like, this entire, militia versus army thing is completely debunked. Like, it's not possible at this point.
But at the same time, even if the situation happens where the government goes against the people and they fight back, I can tell you for a fact that the Don't Tread on Me boys will fight to the death, even knowing that they will lose, and they will never relent that right to
Yeah.
die for what they believe in,
Well,
even
here's
though
an
they know that they'll get
example. Oh,
crushed.
sorry. Apologies.
So I don't think it's a matter of the people knowing that they're going to win. It's knowing that they're going to fight for what they believe in. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
here's when
Go ahead.
I think that won't happen until the government starts making our army more on their side. Like, for example, a way of doing that would be sending out campaigns, very woke campaigns, to get more people from the left on your side, slowly banning attachments of guns, slowly introducing the idea of banning certain guns, in some states suspending the right to carry for a few weeks, slowly, devolving into a state where you can finally remove guns.
I think you'd have to have many generations from now before people forget what happened to the Nazis, what World War II and stuff like that. I would think that I would hope that most soldiers would defy an unjust order for many generations.
Yeah, I
don't
think
think that
Probably would happen.
Now, maybe.
I think that guns.
If we're gonna be, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that random people having guns, the population being armed, isn't the best defense from a tyrannical government. I think that our democratic institutions is probably our first line and best line of defense from tyrannical governments.
doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah, our votes don't
This
matter.
person
votes
said
don't
you
matter,
can't
votes
do
don't
it,
matter.
therefore you can't. Very good. Very good.
There's a reason why it was put
Wait.
in the Constitution in the first place.
Wait, hold on. Why does it not seem to be? Are you arguing that our government is tyrannical as it is?
I'm arguing that
No.
as I'm watching government work right now, I don't see it for the people. I see a bunch of infighting and bickering and bullshit. I don't see them protecting me or my rights.
Yeah, like another, for example, yes, I would say it is leaning more tyranny. I'm not saying it's a tyranny right now, but it's leaning
Yeah,
more towards
yeah.
that by the month, by the day, whatever you want to say, by the year. Now, because my biggest example was during COVID. I think that was a very eye-opening couple of years there. Like, for example, when they tried to force OSHA to enforce mandated vaccines to people that didn't want to, and they wouldn't hear people that actually had either medical conditions or a religious situation. They just wouldn't listen to them. I mean, they kicked out thousands of people from the military. They fired tens of thousands of people from the workforce. They just hurt the entire economy. To try to mandate it was wrong. So yes, that is government tyranny.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the federal mandates were only for federal employees, right?
No, you're wrong.
The federal
Yeah, it's for
mandates.
everyone.
The federal
Because
mandates was for everyone.
They tried to make OSHA enforce that.
Yeah, my parents aren't federal employees, but this mandate affected them too.
Yeah, so certain state governments also mandated vaccines, and certain corporations took it upon themselves to mandate vaccines. But that wasn't under that wasn't under the demand of the federal government, as far as I know. But hold on, I'll look up this OSHA thing.
But they would fire you because of that federal that was the influence from. It's the slow beginning of tyranny. I'm not saying it was entirely a tyrannical government yet, but it's leaning towards that.
Do you think that it's possible that a corporation could look at their population of workers and say it would be better for this population of workers if everyone had vaccines and we didn't have to worry so much about people having to call out for 2 weeks sick because of a really bad COVID infection?
If you work for a pharmaceutical company, absolutely.
If you are told that this is how it worked and it would be the right thing to do, then as a corporation, you would make an educated decision and choose that for your company.
Who do you think benefited the most from that? What corporations do you think benefited the most from
The
all that?
toilet paper corporations.
Wait,
That's who.
hold on. I
No,
think
we didn't see them enough on the shelf.
I think that if you take two Walmarts and one of them has a fully vaccinated staff during COVID and one of them doesn't, the fully vaccinated staff is going to benefit greatly because you have less people calling out sick.
Okay,
Yes,
no,
but
but
it worked out that way.
that's incorrect because you would get sick by taking the vaccine itself, which is a known fact, including the flu vaccine, by the way. You take the vaccine, you get a little bit sick afterwards, right?
Mhm.
It's called immunability.
Yeah.
Now, however, who needs the vaccine? You're forcing the vaccines on younger people that don't get infected, or what?
It would be
What's
everyone
the
because
demographic?
well, yes, you
I
might
mean,
get
forcing it on a demographic that's not susceptible is a problem.
okay.
Yeah,
So
you're essentially enforcing an immune system killing poison, in my opinion.
okay,
It's
so
been
Can I answer
scientifically
it this way?
proven.
Can I answer it this way? If the vaccine was good and it was the right thing to do and it worked, then yes, that makes sense. The argument is that true? When it comes to a corporation protecting themselves using good science to help the people and help society, that's logical, it makes sense. The question is that the truth? That's what people will then argue.
okay, well, I've gotten a few different arguments, it sounds like. One was that you're going to get sick after the vaccine. Yes, it is true that the vaccine can make you, and oftentimes, I think it was like 33% of the times, makes you a little bit sick afterwards. But compared to COVID, which knocks you on your ass for 2 weeks at the time.
Hold on. No,
Which
hold on.
has the potential for it.
Depends on the person.
Okay, well, which one do you think happened more? What do you think put people out of work more often? The vaccine or or COVID infections? Young and
I would
old.
like to know. I would like to know that for sure.
Vaccine or COVID infection?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I would like to
Okay.
know that for sure. The
Okay.
combination of those two things.
It's I mean it seems
I guarantee you, you could
Nah.
just say I guarantee you could just say COVID because guess who never showed up, or guess what never happened ever again? People never got either the cold or the flu. It was only just COVID. That was it.
Wait, how
yeah.
do we get from guns to COVID?
Well, we're talking about tyrannical
Well, we're talking about
governments right now.
government
Mass
tyranny.
destruction report.
So
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
basically,
okay,
so
my
the
bad. I got
so
a little
basically,
bit lost.
yeah, well, it's a little bit, it's not derailing. There is like a point to it. It's about
Yeah,
government
yeah,
tyranny
yeah.
and all that, yeah, it's basically about if you trust the government, right? About what they're trying to implement or force, I should say. Was it justified? No, a lot of people would agree that it's not. And a lot of evidence is coming out recently that it's very unjustified and
Okay.
very incorrect, by the way. And we were not allowed to talk about it. If you spoke about it, you would get banned. Do you think that's right? Even if
Yeah,
they were
that is
right,
the thing.
you're not allowed to speak about it. That's
Okay.
ridiculous. That is tyranny right
Okay,
there.
so that wasn't even the fucking federal government. Anyways, I'm getting triggered now. Well, you're going off on a tangent. You're going off on a tangent now, talking about social media companies banning people for talking about COVID. Like, holy fuck, we're talking about tyrannical. No, we're not talking about tyrannical governments. We're talking about private corporations right now.
We just were.
Well,
That's the essence.
there is correlation between executive branch ordering companies to do certain things. That is a thing.
Okay,
There's a
so
connection.
the what was I saying? Oh yeah, the other thing that was argued against was the idea of did it work? Was these corporations making these decisions based off of sound science? Was that correct?
They were making decisions based off of what NIH and the CDC was telling them was sound science. That is correct.
Where's the do you disagree that the vaccines work?
Yes, I disagree personally.
Why?
Because you're taking a gene therapy science, for one thing, that is unknown for what it does and is now being proved to cause major heart issues as well as deficiency issues. You have issues where you are supposed to take something and then you basically are meant to take it indefinitely because it only works for 2 weeks. There's many different layers and issues that individual people will have with it being forced upon them, when in the end of the day it is no miracle cure, and the risk of it seems to be more than if you don't take it and you're just allowed to take the risk of getting the actual virus in itself and writing it out. So it's a very loaded question. There's
Okay.
many directions we can head in.
Okay, so the science says, and it still says to this day, that the vaccine worked for the first strain of COVID. It worked very well for preventing infections. It worked very well
So-
for helping
I'm
this.
sure that people would be able to bring information up against that. I'm not going to be able to do it right now.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you the things that I've read on it.
Okay.
As the variants came out, you said so because I was going to ask, okay, then why do they keep talking about how the efficacy of the COVID vaccine keeps lowering? You're saying COVID variants, right?
Mhm.
Okay, well then why didn't we hear about the COVID variants until after the efficacy report came out?
What do you mean?
So the efficacy we were told that it was about what 90, like low 90%.
I thought it was 80s.
Something like that. It was pretty high up there, right?
Uh-huh.
At least compared to other vaccines from China or something like that.
Like that.
But as we kept going, like they just kept reporting on, and it just depends on the sources you look at, right? Who you trust or whatever. But it was saying that the efficacy rating did keep decreasing. So why, if the efficacy rating is decreasing, why would they still push the same vaccine, and why is it not working for these variants? If it's not stopping it.
For the first two, I think it was still highly effective. For the Omicron was the last one that it was actually somewhat prevented the spread. And for every other variant that's came out, it doesn't really prevent the spread, but it prevents serious illness still.
I would disagree because when it comes to Omicron, they actually said that was the most spreadable one, so it didn't prevent its spreadability. It just said that it was less lethal.
No,
I know
yeah.
you guys have a lot to say on this, and we could bring up lots of information, but you guys are going to have to decide at this point if we're going to derail and talk about this for a long time, or if there's something else that needs to be talked about for this debate itself.
Okay, I can just say my last piece on this because we can. There's still a lot I think to say about the idea of a tyrannical government. Probably, I think that the science was sound, and I think that for what we and corporations were making decisions based off of sound science.
Okay, yeah, and let me sign off on this one too. Yeah, I think that the science was not sound at all, and we should have at least had more discussion about it instead of censoring people to want to talk about it. For example, we got Fauci saying no masks, then he said one mask, then he said two masks. So when you have the representative speaking about that, then we have to question it, and that's it.
Okay.
I'll jump in with a conclusionary point real quick as well if we're wrapping up on COVID. The vaccines were proven to cause less death and lower these symptoms if you did catch COVID. They were proven to decrease your rate of catching it in terms of your body's immune system, but they were determined that they don't actually stop the spread at all. And COVID was just as rampant because it evolved significantly faster than the vaccine. This vaccine works similar to a flu vaccine, which every year they make like 4 different flu vaccines and just try to guess how the strain is going to mutate. And in some years, you only get like a 20% effectiveness of the COVID or of the flu vaccine. Some years you get 80%. So
they just guess. Just guess it.
Sort of. But just to say that like it didn't work effectively doesn't mean they didn't work. I think some politicians overstated how effective the vaccines were going to be, but the science was always right. Like Pfizer's data was correct. The politicians' assessments of that data definitely hyperbole.
I disagree.
Is there any way that someone can bring this segue back to the original topic?
Yeah, tyrannical government.
I checked out for the tyrannical.
The CDC was part of the tyrannical government. I mean, they're telling us that this is what we should believe, and anything that was said otherwise was disinformation. Not misinformation, but disinformation.
Well, they shot us, but just not with bullets.
We could probably bring this.
We had to get the Fauci.
We could talk about something that was brought up. The idea of censorship and the tyrannical government, I suppose, is the ones that are censoring us.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta use the restroom, and I do want to talk about that. But go ahead, guys. Good. Put it back.
I think this is extremely unlikely. The likelihood of getting a tyrannical government means that like 2/3 of the states have to vote to take down our entire Bill of Rights one at a time. And I was trying to ignore that guns were on that Bill of Rights for this discussion, so we could kind of talk more about the idea of it and less about the constitutionality. But you're not going to get 2/3 of states to vote all those things away and put us into that tyranny. It's just nearly impossible for the state to ever come to that point.
What about not so much a tyrannical government, but a persecution aspect of a particular group of people that is signed off on by the government?
That would have, like, it has happened historically in internment camps and things like that, but I think we have the mechanisms in place to prevent we don't have a situation like Israel and Palestine and shit going on here. We can't.
Not at the moment.
Well, we've put people in camps before, right? Japanese in World War II.
Well, we have historically in the past, and we've learned from those mistakes, and we recognize those things as mistakes. I'm hoping that one day we will recognize what we do to immigrants as being mistakes. But yeah, historically we have. I think that there can be conditions in which we do something like that again. But I think that our institutions will always come back to giving people freedom and not treating them like that. Because the democratic institutions are our best defense from tyrannical governments.
A question that arises in my mind is, I mean, we talk about the crime and the bad aspects of gun, but how many gun owners are not doing bad things? What percentage of people that own a gun are not causing problems whatsoever?
I think that if you were to ask, like, if you were to give everyone a nuclear bomb, it would probably be a pretty small percentage of people that would actually do bad things with that nuclear bomb. But the percentage that does really bad things, and it affects a lot of people. So yeah.
I mean, I'm not advocating to give everyone a nuclear
I
bomb.
know you're not. I took your example to an extreme to demonstrate a point. That yeah, there's probably
so extreme.
The point is that there's probably a large portion of people, maybe even like 90% of people that own guns. It could be even 95% of people that own guns that don't do bad things with their guns. But the small percentage of people that do bad things with their guns, it's greatly damaging to people's lives, and that's.
Do you think from a democratic standpoint we could uphold the laws that are already written to a higher standard so that there would be less problems?
The problem with the laws is that they can only take effect after the crime is committed and the lives are affected.
Right, and after that happens, which is an atrocity, if that person was actually handled in a better way, do you think that the numbers would drastically decrease? Because it seems like it's repeat offenders that are a major part of the problem.
So do you just want to like put all people who are like robbers into prison forever?
Robber, I guess we'd have to break it down to what repeat offenders are. A robber, I guess armed robbery where they kill somebody. I think that we should take that pretty seriously. I don't think that people should be just let go on any easy grounds. I think that if someone's going to take somebody's life, that is a decision that they've made that really takes away their freedoms.
I don't know what the average sentence for a murderer, a homicide, is in your state, but it's around 20 years in my state.
At 20,
for me, it should be
20 years is the parole, or at 20 years it's a release?
20 years till release.
Okay.
And most people who murder actually aren't repeat offenders. They don't repeat themselves.
Good to hear.
Because
I guess it's different for gang crime.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. Gangs are a whole different situation that I don't even have to deal with in the prison that I work at, because I work in a women's prison and there's not a lot of gang members in there.
This entire time I thought you were working in a male's prison for some reason.
Don't you live in a pretty rural state too, Cluck?
I live in Virginia. Oh, by the way, Democrats took the House and the Senate in Virginia yesterday. Virginia.
Thanks to abortion.
Yeah.
You guys like to abort babies after 6 weeks. Yeah.
They just flipped the House of Delegates. I think they held the Senate.
I'm sorry, is it 16 weeks?
They flipped the House.
Yeah, they flipped the House of Delegates. I think they held the Senate.
Yeah.
Both of them, yeah. Poor Virginia. I feel bad for you
Um,
guys.
Look,
I paid attention to a lot. Abortion is what's kind of winning the Democrats. That's a whole
Yeah,
different.
I know. That's what won them. That's exactly what won them. The thing.
I can do some bitching about the Republicans in Virginia, but anyways,
I want to stress the point, though, for
Sure.
this topic, that I feel like gun laws are not being held well, because when you look at the example of the Maine shooter, you have an individual that was already flagged psychologically in a system by professionals for wanting to kill people, and then they went out and, I believe, purchased a firearm after that and killed people.
Yeah, one thing I'm absolutely okay with is more background checks for mental illness. Anyone who's mentally ill should not own a weapon.
I just wish that the government would actually follow up on those red
Instead of
flags.
keeping him in there for 2 weeks after he said he wanted to shoot
They
up
know
an
they know exactly what they're doing. They know. I mean, come on. That's just complete government neglect.
Oh, you know what?
I
This would be
understand that
fun.
there's a social cost, and I appreciate that, but I feel like because there are bad actors, that there's a lot of innocent people and righteous people that are going to get punished for those other people's acts.
If
And I
the
don't
only
that doesn't seem like
yeah,
a solution to me.
If
It's
they're
not-
mentally
Tyler's
ill,
it's not.
like, are you saying that mentally ill people, because of the actions of other people who are mentally ill and they can't own a gun, that's going to harm them negatively?
what's your definition of
I didn't
mental
know
illness?
that.
The definition?
Yeah.
Anybody that's willing to
I
kill
don't
people
really
with guns
have a
openly
definition,
for
really.
no
They
reason.
have
It's
mental
pretty
illness.
That's
broad.
mental illness.
So
I
the
didn't
current
understand your
Speaker of the
question
House-
before. Go ahead, Tyler. Sorry.
Sorry. The current Speaker of the House voted for two things. One is that mentally ill former veterans can still buy guns. He made sure of that. And another was that people who didn't have the mental capacity to take care of their government funding, like their government, what's the word, unemployment or medical, whatever expenses, if they didn't have the mental capacity to take care of that, Mike Johnson voted against a bill that would also not allow them to buy guns. So
So
mental
if they're not
illness could be,
self-sustaining.
yeah. So mental illness could be branched out into a lot of things. Some of it could be your brain becoming deficient with age. Other parts of it could be like PTSD from combat. Does that mean you shouldn't be able to have a gun as a former Marine?
Probably, yeah.
It's a very good question.
I would say
I
yeah.
think so, yeah. I think so.
I mean,
That would qualify. If you have
who has earned
PTSD
it more than
and you're,
It doesn't, it's not about who earned it.
what do you mean?
Yeah, I
who
don't think
earned-
it comes
earned-
down to
who
merit.
earned?
Doesn't matter.
Wait, whoa.
It
Who
really
earned
means
what?
Who earned what? Yeah.
these people? I'm saying like a Marine that went and killed Osama bin Laden. He has PTSD because he saw a kid get shot. He shouldn't be able to buy a gun when he's done with his service.
If he has proven PTSD, then absolutely not.
I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to kill himself. Most people with PTSD aren't
It's not
suicidal.
about killing himself.
I-
it's
Yeah,
about
but-
killing
but-
others.
But it's about the
becomes with
the harm of
multiple
others. That's exactly.
I have
You're arguing an individual basis, though, because PTSD can mean many different things.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I have PTSD on my
It is
record.
individual.
Yeah, PTSD.
well,
should
who
not
doesn't
be
nowadays?
restricted from buying a gun. I think
It
mental
depends
illness
on
is very
how.
broad,
It
so-
depends on the level, right? I think anyone who's schizophrenic and sees things that aren't actually there, I think no matter what, you shouldn't be able to own a weapon. Maybe that's
Is
a
that
hot
why you
take,
keep getting banned from Fortnite lobbies, Cluck?
Huh?
Is that why you keep getting banned from Fortnite lobbies?
I don't play Fortnite.
Oh, bad joke.
I personally think Eagles fans, Redskins fans, and Giants fans shouldn't be able to own guns because they're all scumbag.
Hey, what
Okay.
about Raiders? What about those guys?
I don't care about the AFC. Go
Oh,
Cowboys.
okay.
Should we talk about the
Oh,
Constitution?
you're an NFC guy. Okay, I got you.
Should we talk about how the Second Amendment is interpreted?
It's a
Sure.
pretty easy interpretation. I'm kind of blown away by how people still think of it as being something else.
Okay. So what is your interpretation, Ford?
It is a citizen's right to own a gun. It's kind of the main premise of it.
Okay. So I'm going to read it. I'm sure everyone already knows what it says. A well-regulated militia.
Not part, no.
Huh?
I don't know it by heart.
Okay. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's all one sentence.
Okay, what about it?
Okay.
So is it
Separated by a
possible?
comma.
Hold on. Is
Be
it
very careful. Separated by a comma.
is it
Let him finish.
is it possible to interpret this as the right of the people to bear arms is in service of a well-regulated militia?
No.
You think it's impossible to interpret it that way?
It's definitely
Yes.
possible.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure
it's
people
possible.
know
That
It's-
doesn't
it's-
mean it's right.
It's
Yeah, so,
possible
yeah.
if you haven't taken any history lessons at all, if you're a completely uneducated person, then yes, it's possible to interpret it that way. It's possible for anything. I could interpret that as, fuck, why doesn't somebody make me food with guns somehow by heating up a tin of coffee? Like, you know how stupid that sounds? I
Yeah.
can interpret that any way if I'm uneducated.
So,
Come on, dude.
Tyler, I understand what I understand what Heller says, and we're ignoring that right now and just going by, like, if I was a textualist, I could probably argue that the people who the Supreme Court was being activist judges that were interpreting it the way they did in Heller, because they interpreted it in a way that said the right to bear arms is for self-defense, and that's nowhere near in the Constitution.
Is that a court case?
I'm saying the 4 justices that lost are saying exactly what you're saying. So it is
Okay,
possible.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if actually, who said that if I knew my history, was that URW or Riddle?
Riddle.
No, I didn't say if you knew
no
your
one knew
history.
their history, then they
If
would.
nobody, if I was an this is, it's because you said could it be misinterpreted? It's like, yes, if nobody knew their history and nobody was educated, and you had a little bit, like, yeah, it's very possible that you can misinterpret it for anything you want.
So what is the history that I would be missing in order to interpret this amendment and the way that I said?
How the Constitution came about, American history.
Give me some examples. Give me some details.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you, oh my God.
can-
Which part?
while he's
You,
looking
just 1776 or what? Like, which part do you want?
Whichever one you think is going to make your argument that my interpretation is wrong.
We defended a tyrannical government.
No, I
on
didn't
the
say
land.
your interpretation was wrong. What are you talking about?
Okay, so you agree that I can interpret it this way and it could be accurate?
No, you can interpret it any way you want, but it would be inaccurate to the history of what it's intended to be.
So what makes it inaccurate?
Can you copy and paste that into the chat so I can see it on my phone? I can't
Sure.
scroll around the internet right now.
Yeah, I got you.
I got an answer for
Yeah,
that.
I
as
need
well.
I need like interpretations of, like, what do you mean by misinterpreting these? Like, can you give me examples, like, specifically, because it depends on the interpretation.
Okay, so my interpretation of this amendment is that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed as long as that is being used in service of a well-regulated militia.
That's what your interpretation was? Because
Yes.
I'm getting different versions here.
Yeah, based on
Yes.
commas.
Well regulated mission.
Based on the commas, so you have a well-regulated militia, comma,
That's why I pointed
being
that out.
necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. When it says the right of the people, it opens it up in that sentence to me to be more than a militia.
Then why would they put
So-
the militia part in there in the first place?
I can paraphrase this for you in a way that'll help you understand.
That's a
this.
really bad argument.
Go ahead,
Why would they
Tyler.
put the militia part in there.
All right, so in this instance, if you were saying, in order for people to travel in a car, they need tires. Therefore, the right of the people to have tires shall not be infringed. It is saying, like, the whole part of the in order part is just saying this is the logic behind it, but that's not the specific thing that they're looking to not infringe. The thing that the law is actually blocking is the tire. You have a constitutional right to make tires because we want you to travel.
So
Here's the thing is
Go ahead.
they didn't refer the right of the militia being comprised of the people. They talked about the militia, and then they talked about the right of the people. They separated them for a reason.
Well,
They didn't say the right of the militia being comprised of the people to be necessary to the security of a free state to be able to keep and bear arms. Blah, blah,
Well,
blah.
I don't think they have to for my interpretation to be right. I understand what you're saying, Tyler. Has anyone here ever read the Federalist Papers number 29?
No.
Absolutely never.
wait,
So
hold on. Before we do that, you gotta answer. Like, okay, like, so you understand that you do have to have a little bit of education to misinterpret that exact thing, right? Because you wanted us to answer. Well, is it possible to interpret that?
yeah, I think that if you're misinterpreting something, it could be due to a lack of education, sure. But when I was asking that question, I was meaning like, do you think that it's possible for us to be able to accurately interpret this amendment in this way? Like that was.
So I gave an example for how I perceived it because I showed that the right of the people and the militia were separated. Could you give an example showing that the right of the people is or the people? Could you give me an example that says the people are a part of the militia itself, or that those two things? You know what I'm saying? I can't fucking speak.
You're asking me to prove that you're asking me to prove that the founding fathers meant for the militia to be a qualifying factor for the right to bear arms. That's what you're asking, right?
No, I'm just asking you. Tell me why how you got this interpretation, because I told you how I got mine.
I think that when you're reading the words itself, it's very possible just by the words to interpret it in the way.
That's what I'm asking.
Because they wouldn't
Can you give an example of how it's misinterpreted like that?
How? Yeah, just give me an example why.
Well, I think it's possible to interpret. Well, no, I think it's possible to interpret it in both ways. The way that Tyler explained it, where it's necessary to have tires for a car, therefore the people can all have tires.
I don't want an analogy. I want this direct interpretation.
Okay, so it is possible to interpret it the way that you guys are interpreting it. You have to have guns for a militia, therefore the right of the people to have guns.
You have to have guns for a militia. We're gonna break this down.
Wait. That's not what I was asking though. I'm not asking you what you think. I'm asking why you think this.
I think it's possible to interpret it both ways.
You're not answering my question.
He is answering your question, I think.
I can give you some opinions that like high-end political opinions from Supreme Court justices that all kind of back up exactly what he's saying and the logic behind it if you want the full argument.
Are you guys still there, or did I get kicked out?
Tell me those.
No, you're there.
No, you're there. No one's just listening to you.
You were really quiet, in fairness. I'm sorry.
Well, so Click, I'll give you an example. So the reason why I think that it's saying it's the right of the people to bear arms and the people aren't a part of the militia is that they're separated by a comma, and it says the right of the people, not the right of the militia. Those two things are separate. That's why I am led to believe that it's the right of the people and the militia is completely separate.
Yeah, I don't think that comma changes the idea of the sentence.
There we go. See, now...
Is that what you were looking for? Okay.
Yes, I want to expand on that because I was kind of looking for why you thought that. What in the text led you to believe that?
Okay.
So why doesn't it? It doesn't say the militia is comprised of the people. How do you get that the people are a part of the militia?
Because when you're reading it, it's very possible to read it, and the main idea is that they want to. Okay, so when you're reading it, it's very possible to read it that the main idea of this amendment is to be able to have a militia. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, it is possible to read this amendment as it's not saying that it's impossible to read this amendment to where if your right to bear arm isn't in service to militia, the government can ban that because this amendment's purpose is to be able to form a militia.
That's what I'm asking. Why do you think this is about the militia?
Because the main idea is the militia.
Oh, okay, hold on. RW, go ahead.
Go ahead, RW.
Have you guys ever experienced how a law is written, for every lawyer that's in the room, that law can be interpreted a different way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in this scenario, I'm just thankful that it seems that the majority of the United States understands it to be that an individual, even outside of a militia, has the right to bear arms.
Yeah, but
I can understand Cluck's point. And
okay,
how he's
that's all I was asking.
it,
yeah,
I don't think that's the popular interpretation. Therefore, that's not how it stands.
Okay, and I understand that, but all I was asking is, can you see how
Well,
it could be interpreted in that
No, I
way?
don't. That's the thing.
Yes,
Because I know you can lead to that conclusion. I don't see how you can get there.
Okay, but
I know
RW
people
does, and I
can get there,
appreciate
I don't
that.
know how they get through all of those steps.
Okay, but RW and Tyler understands. Riddle, do you understand, or?
yeah. So I was asking you before. I said yes. I can understand how somebody could
Okay.
if you're uneducated.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody could.
Okay, and so Forg, you are having an English grammar problem here, right? That's what the disconnect is here.
No, it just makes it more, you know, easy
I'm
to
asking how
open to
you got led
interpretation.
to there. I'm just
No,
asking.
hold on,
how you
Forg.
I-
Like
I can
if you
give you
take
that.
you said if you take away the commas, it would be the same thing, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean I just agree with you on that one. So yeah, it would make a big deal. I think it would make a big deal.
Well, I think
So I
that.
can give you
Go ahead, Tyler, please.
I'm just going to explain it to Ford real quick so he kind of understands. So the idea behind the well-regulated militia was early in the Constitution, they did not believe that we needed a standing army. I think Washington lobbied for one, but a lot of the founding fathers did not want a United States army. They said that that would be dangerous to liberty. So the only time that originally in the Constitution you were allowed to form an army was
Well, I'm
for a
not confused
specific.
on what it says. That's not what I'm
Yeah,
confused
well,
on.
and hold on, I'm getting to the logic behind it real quick. For
Okay.
you. So like the idea now that we have this army, all of that well-regulated militia shit's out the window, and thus, if you look at that amendment, they spoke English differently 300 years ago than we do now, significantly. If you talk to somebody from then, you wouldn't know half the shit they're saying. To
Yeah.
say that they use commas the exact same way we do now is just kind of trying to put our modern day interpretation of English onto somebody 300 years ago.
With you, agree, I do.
Well, I understand that people can interpret it a different way.
And it would
I
still
don't
make
understand
sense.
how they can get to that point.
Because
That's what I'm
if the main concept of this amendment is to be able to have to allow the people to form a well-regulated militia, then the right to bear arms is necessarily tied to the well-regulated militia. It doesn't. Now you can have within the bounds of the Constitution, you can still have people, individuals having arms, but you can also have individuals not bearing arms if it's not in service of the militia, based off of this amendment alone.
Why do you think that? Why do
I
you
think that because
can be taken away if they're not serving the militia?
I think
don't
that
get that from any of this.
be-
Any part of the
because
Second Amendment,
because
I can't see how you see
the point of the amendment isn't to give individuals right to bear arms. The point of the
right of the people to keep
the
their
point of the amendment is to give the people the ability to be able to form a militia.
No, it's a well-regulated militia, comma.
Who regulates the
separating the two.
militia?
The people.
Well, the word regulated doesn't even mean regulated in the sense that we would use that word. It means well trained.
Yeah, I know. I never said.
Well,
No. That's open. Now, isn't that open to interpretation according to you?
No, that's the textualist reading of this amendment.
Okay, so I'm reading it in a
regulated.
textualist way,
Regulated
and
means
you're
well
making it
trained.
Yes, I mean, am I wrong, Tyler?
Well-trained militia.
I don't think so. I'm coming with you on this one right now.
Okay.
You don't even know, Tyler. All right. Anyway, so you're just going with the flow. You're just going with
No,
whoever
I do,
sounds better, don't you?
Because like if
No.
you read
No.
the
Well
written
regulated.
history on
What
this
the
topic-
definition of regulated does not mean well trained.
Can you just look up what they meant by well regulated real quick?
How would I? What? How would I look
What
it
do you
up
say?
and see what they meant?
Okay.
I have to ask them themselves.
All right.
It's totally fair to interpret it this way. We're bickering over
All
like
right.
you don't see.
All
it
right, so, okay.
reasonable to interpret
All
it
right.
this
So
way. I just-
so then you know what? Screw it. We're gonna bicker over just opinions and how we interpret it. So Cluck, just tell me ultimately how do you interpret this?
Oh, I totally interpret it as the right to bear arms is in service of the militia. I think that's what the founding fathers intended this amendment to be. And the reason why I think that is because the only.
No, hold on. I don't understand exactly what you said. You said. Please say it again clearly though, so I can understand.
Okay.
Because I'm slow.
I think that this amendment's purpose was to allow the populace to be armed in service of the militia, a well-regulated militia.
Oh, okay. So just the militia.
Yes, that's the purpose of this amendment.
Only a militia. Okay.
Yes.
though they refer to the people as the people overall and not the people serving the militia. They clearly say the right of the people to keep and bear arms, not the right of the people who serve the militia. The
Yeah.
right of the people to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable that would be the way they would speak when talking about when talking about the people of the militia, if they already qualified the purpose of the amendment earlier in the amendment.
Interesting. So does that mean that considering what Tyler said earlier and how they did, grammar differently back then,
Mhm.
does that mean militia was a different definition of militia back then?
Well, it's funny you ask, because the thing that I've been trying to get to this entire time is that Alexander Hamilton actually defined what he wanted as for a well-regulated militia. Well, he didn't actually define what he wanted. He defined what a well-regulated militia wasn't in Federalist Papers number 29, where he says that the idea that every man, woman, and child, every able-bodied male would be a part of a would be able to train enough to be a part of a well-regulated militia is a fool's errand or some shit like that. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have it in front of me.
Well,
He's right.
then,
There's more to Federalist 29. If you skip down a little bit more, he says that a standing army is dangerous to liberty. But that being said, if we want to have the power of a militia, we cannot have the government regulating the tools that the militia would use to rise up against the government. So he's ultimately making the argument against gun regulation in Hamilton 29.
Well, he was talking about the federal government,
Okay.
right?
that sounds good to me.
Yeah, but
Federal
do you,
government, yeah.
yeah, do you think that the state governments would probably be allowed to do that under Alexander Hamilton's?
Maybe, but that's where I jumped to Thomas Jefferson's quote in the and James Madison and Thomas Jefferson in the Virginia Constitution in 1776, draft 1. They said, "No free man shall ever be disbarred from use of arms."
Yeah, so when you're jumping to what the founding fathers said outside the context of what when they're talking about the Constitution, the Federalist Papers are a special set of papers because these were the arguments that the founding fathers put forth in order to argue for the Constitution. But if you're talking about like other aspects of their gubernatorial duties, then you're not really talking about what they meant when they were when they were drafting the federal Constitution.
I'd say it's more of a 10th Amendment issue at that point. That's why I just deferred to the state government after that with Madison and Jefferson. Just because you asked what the states would have to do in that circumstance. And in this circumstance, they were basically saying everyone's using guns, at least Virginia. So it would have to go state to state, to be honest with you. I don't know what Georgia said.
Yeah, so I think that the Second Amendment actually disallows federal government from doing gun regulation. But I think it allows the state governments to be able to do as much gun regulation or as little gun regulation as they possibly want.
It could. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to say that.
I mean, that's my theory. I think it's dumb policy, but I think that's what the purpose of the Second Amendment probably was.
Apparently, there's another gun issue that's being debated in a heated discussion in Drone Tech server right now. I didn't really pay attention to it. Some politician that waved a gun or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
What are you talking about? This is a VC thing, or?
No, it's just in text chat.
Oh.
I don't think I'm looking forward to the debate in Drone Tech server tomorrow.
It's Atlas.
There's a few people that.
No, I fucked up.
That's why.
I think he clicked the
Probably went to click on it and it clicked out.
Yeah, he accidentally went in there.
Yeah, I'm a boomer. I told you.
Wait, what's the debate for tomorrow? No, keep Cluck down there. He's making good points. I don't want him to speak to us anymore. This will be a conversation now, one-sided.
That's all right. I've had this debate. It's been a few years, but I've had this debate a lot. Mostly in text, though.
Wait, Cluck what?
Come on up, Cluck.
He has to accept. He's probably tabbed out.
Keep Cluck down there. He's making good points.
No, I'm joking. It's a joke.
This guy's name is Craig Robinson. He put a picture up of his gun on Twitter and said, "My Democrat eradicator."
Oh shit.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
I wonder if that's. Did he actually use it like at a baseball game?
Why didn't it go
No,
up?
he didn't shoot anybody.
Oh man, I wonder how that's comparable to to when somebody actually shot at fucking the congressional baseball game.
Wait, could you
So
send that to like an
can you
article
put in
about that to me,
layman terms
Tyler,
what
or
the
like
actual
what his
offense
name
is?
was?
It's,
'Cause
yeah,
I
I'm
want to
just
look
reading the
into it.
chat. I'm reading the chat right now in drone text thing.
As for tomorrow, Cluck, you're not the only one with that consent. I've had multiple people back out of even joining based on the topic. So I'm not sure how it's going to turn out in the end. I'll just be modding. I don't have much to say on it either.
Well, you
Tyler,
backed
could
out
you
as
send me
well.
the
Oh, I
Tyler,
didn't
what was
realize I
the
was
name of the guy
back.
who did that?
Lol.
What was the
Or
name of him
W.
who did that?
Oh, I gotta hold on. Let me get it. What's the topic?
I couldn't
while
hear you,
guys
Riddle.
are all
Sorry,
talking?
buddy.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, well, you backed out too.
I'm not backing
I backed out
out.
of the debate,
No,
not
no,
the
no, no,
modding.
not you, not you, Cluck, not you. Sorry,
No,
the
no, let's gang
RW.
up on him. You backed up, Cluck. You backed out. You're afraid.
No, 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 not Cluck, not you, Cluck. I was talking about RW with the topic and drones. You backed out
Yeah,
too.
I'm backing out of the actual conversation. I'm just there to mod. I don't know how it's going to turn out though, because I can't get other people to come into it based on what the topic is. If I'm lucky, I have Atlas. That's the only opposition that's
The
may
reason
join.
why I'm hesitant is because in Drone Tech's explanation, his supporting details, it's a lot of stuff that I guarantee you when I ask him to back it up, it's going to be a bunch of anecdotes that he's going to try and extrapolate to a wider population with no like
I
reason
don't
for
know.
that.
I mean, I gotta disagree with you. He does link a lot of like actual like stuff. So
Who does Atlas?
Yeah,
no,
Yeah.
no,
he's
no,
not wrong.
no. Drone does. Like I understand.
Yeah,
Like
Drone
he
links
refers to
like every.
anecdotes, but like then he will link you eventually. That's what he
He
does.
does. Yeah.
And then
He,
nobody responds to what he links to.
no, no,
And
he
then
does. He
people,
does. He does link, and I do respond to it. And every time I respond to it,
You-
I will say, "Look, Drone, this doesn't say what you think it says," or like.
well, okay, so then everything is open to interpretation, just like the Second
Well,
Amendment.
so
Right? Jesus
It
Christ,
is
man, come
open
on.
to interpretation. I mean,
topic?
come
Yeah,
on.
I mean, it
That's
depends
happening.
depending on the everything. Life is open to interpretation.
Riddle,
So I
Riddle,
guess we're just
one
defending
example.
opinions on either side.
Riddle,
Jesus.
one example of this was when I said that the media, when the media is typically talking about breaking news, they will cover themselves by saying something like 300 killed in hospital bombing according to Hamas. They will add that little part at the end, and Drone Tech said, no, they don't do it that way. They state it as a matter of fact. And I was like, all right, well, give me an example of that. And then when he gives me an example of that, they say exactly what I said that they said. Like, they add the, like, that's the kind of thing that happens often. Don't get me wrong, I like Drone Tech.
I know
But
you guys do. It's a love-hate relationship. I
Yeah,
get
exactly. It's a love-hate thing.
well, I don't have any. I don't have any hate for
No,
Drone Tech.
that's just a phrase of
But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you two do really well together, and you guys should keep on working on it. I'm glad to see what happens in the future.
I think
You two
we
are
all
such
do. I
a
think it's
good
really
duo.
good. I actually appreciate you guys.
I just think taking on that many things that I would like have to dig into at one time seems like a lot.
You
Yeah.
may not have to though dig into it. The problem is, I think it's race baiting for clickbait. That's kind of my feel for that topic, and it's going to bring in a lot of derailed conversations.
I think it's a good idea for
So,
views though.
well, when it comes to that, yes, I can 100% think that's a good tactic. But when it comes to the actual conversation, I think it's going to be a crapshoot.
Well, yeah, because everyone's too scared of it.
What's the topic?
I don't know if they're
it's
scared of it, but it's like they don't ever.
Oh,
Even it's like even
it's
there's
a
even
it's
there's
a
even
change
like
my mind.
now.
Is the mass migration trying to replace white people or something like that?
is
Mass migration trying to
immigration.
replace white
People
people
becoming the minority is a good thing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Or
Yep.
a bad thing, one
yeah.
of the two.
through
I'm
through
fucking
mass
in.
migration. Through
I
mass
don't
not
date
migration
white
but
girls, so
immigration.
I'm in.
Mass illegal immigration is what it should be.
Even if like I'll make the far right wing or far left wing argument on that. That's a good topic. I like it.
Oh yeah, okay. You know what? We can have this topic now. Quick little go here.
Do you guys want to put this debate to rest then? Is there any last comments?
I mean,
With the
I'll
assault rifles,
if
yeah, I
I'm
think
free,
that,
I'll join.
They should have it. That's fine. Yeah.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms. That's my
Exactly.
say on it.
Yeah.
I think even if your hypothetical situation was a reality, we had only revolvers and shit in the Wild West, and it was significantly more violent than it is now. You could do drive-by
I'm your
shootings
Uncle
on
Bear.
cars with 2 revolvers.
I'm fine with going back to the Wild West days.
So,
That
like,
sounds awesome.
I'm not. I think we live in a very peaceful time. Our murder rate's significantly down from the 70s and the 80s. We're in a very good spot right now, and now we got to focus on a few bad areas. We got to focus on gang crime mostly. We got to focus on illegal guns going out. And I gave 2 good policy decisions to tackle at least the latter of those. Gangs, we know how to take them down. New York did it with stop and frisk, and it worked until
Yeah, that was
until
and
Bloomberg,
that was under, and guess who that was under?
Rudy Giuliani. It worked when it was under
Yeah.
Bloomberg, and he kicked it up into high gear. And then what's his dick? But De Blasio kicked it up into even higher gear before he got rid of it. That's when it got to the point where it's infringing on people's constitutional rights.
And the latter two were what were they? Democrats, pretty sure.
Bloomberg, when he got elected, was an independent. He turned into a Democrat later.
Yeah, he's pretty
He's
harsh
very
too.
big nanny. He was also somebody that banned like 2 liters and shit like that because he thought people didn't need that much sugar. So it was very nanny statey and like, I don't like that shit. You're not my mom. Get the fuck out of here.
Wait, how is stop and frisk not infringement on the constitutional rights?
Early on
Feels like
versions of
infringement
it.
at the airport.
Yeah, early versions. What was the difference?
Okay, so how they did it then, long ago, was they used the CompStat system in New York City to find out, and victimization reports to find out where the violent crime was happening, and they'd put police in those areas. And then once somebody would do something that would allow the police to at least stop and talk to them, that's when they'd search them for safety. After a while, it got to the point where this person looks suspicious, and we're just going to go up and search them. And that's when it started to become a constitutional infringement.
So they would only stop them if there was reason to do so.
Yeah, there was they would have a way less stops a year. I think it was only in like the 5 figures, early low 5 figures, high 4 figures. And then toward the end of De Blasio, it was in like I think it was getting toward the 6 figures of people being stopped.
Okay.
So they kicked it up in a high gear.
If we're kind of worn out on the gun thing, does anyone want to talk about Israel versus Palestine after everyone gets their last words out? What do you mean, though? It's fun.
Dear God, it's
Well,
over.
I'm kind of tired.
Is it overdone?
Dang.
What are we not tired of then? What topic are we? Because I think gun rights are fucking pretty overdone. That's why I didn't want to do this in the first place. So what do you guys want to agree on that's not overdone?
Pornography is immoral. No, I'm just kidding. You guys wanted to get into tomorrow's debate topic, I think.
Oh yeah, right. The immigration thing.
What immigration thing?
Is white people
Yeah,
being
with the-
replaced by brown people a bad thing?
Oh.
Why they gotta be brown liberal?
I would. Well, the way he put it, I would say no. It would depend on the situation. Now, according to this situation, the U.S. border, yeah, I would say it's a bad thing.
Well, who's coming across the U.S. border?
Breed.
Mexicans?
Brown people.
I
So
don't know.
like,
No. Well, mostly. Oh, it's not just Mexicans. You think it's Mexicans?
A lot of people
what do
south of the
I mean,
border-
that's-
Guat- you got
that's
you got
right.
Guatem you got Guatemala you got Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, fucking people from Venezuela, Colombia.
Oh my gosh.
You got Russians, you got Russians, Chinese, you got you got Europeans.
Riddle, listen
What?
to me. I suck at stuff like that. I can't tell the difference between like a person from Japan and a person from Korea. There's no way I can tell the difference between a person from like Mexico
That's
and
because
Guatemala.
that's what they want with Japan and Korea.
So,
Anyways, they
just
want to
not
market
slightly retarded.
K-pop and shit.
So I just want to point out a lot
a
of
difference.
people south of the border. When
Anyways,
slavery ended in a lot of these countries, Mexico just exported all their black people back to Africa. They didn't keep them around. In a lot of cases, they killed. There's a famous thing in Cuba. A lot of black Cubans were killed. In South America, same thing. So a lot of these people south of the border, these Hispanics, are technically considered white. And when they move up here, a lot of times they start identifying as white as well. Even if they say voting Democrat, they still identify as white American and not a Hispanic minority. So
Wait, who?
in a sense, when people come from south of the border,
Wait,
we're
who?
not-
Who?
People south of the border, like Hispanic communities, are technically
No.
white
Wait,
in a lot
which
of
ones are identifying as whites? Cubans, you said?
Some Cubans, yes, but just people generally from south of the border. A lot of them, I could find. I read a study, and I thought it was like, I'm guessing right now.
So
it's
they're
more than-
lying. So they're lying because it's not white.
It's not lying technically because
That is
in
lying.
a way, if they're white. People from the Middle East, in a way, are technically white.
Are they-
Turkish people could be technically white. People, it's kind of the definition of
If
the
you're
term
going
because
into if you're going into a country and they have their ways of, let's say, interpreting what race you are, and you have to do this on a legal basis, then would you mark Middle East or white if you're coming from Turkey, say example?
it really depends on how you're defining white because there's a lot of different context around that. If you're
If you
defining
given
it just on
Middle
a
East
biological level,
or
yes.
white.
On a biological level, yes. In a more of a colloquial level, like European, absolutely not. Like it really has to do. There's different ways to break this ethnicity, race, genetics, and all that shit down, and there's different ways to define what white means. In a lot of circumstances, Jews aren't
Okay,
considered
so
white, but they are in others.
all right, so that justifies the entire mass immigration level, and of what?
No,
Of
I'm
what?
just saying, like the white replacement part of it.
Do you
is all
think
I'm
do you
just
think that when they come into this country that they're going to be marking white for like the federal government's advantages or whatever you want to call it? Do you
No,
think they're going
I
to be
mean,
marking
that's what I'm
whites,
saying.
or do
There's
you
no
think they're going to be
problems there.
marking a minority?
It depends on what they identify as, really. I've
Oh,
seen a
okay,
lot of
so they can identify as whatever they choose to.
yeah. If they say they're white, we don't take them at the word.
That's
Grand
bullshit,
Grey
dude.
It's just a check on a page, you know. Like people lie on their college admissions all the time, like Elizabeth Warren saying she's Native American to get jobs and shit. It happens. People lie on that shit all the time. Or it's
Oh,
on how
yeah,
they
but why? So why? That's insane. That's insane. So why do you think that she did that? Why did she, even though she's white, do that? Lie on her admissions for that
She
she was
wants to
Native
be a
American.
victim.
clout. But
Yeah,
yeah,
she
but
wants
like
to be a
It's
victim.
clout,
of
and
the
what?
government.
And why is it clout? Why is it clout?
Because people like
Oh,
victims, and
I'm
people
not
want
asking
to be
you,
clowned.
Fork.
well, I mean, it's
Sorry.
literally written into the legal system that if you have a minority status, there are certain advantages that we provide to you. So why would you? If you
Exactly.
could take
Not
advantage
just
of it,
not
yeah,
just certain. There's a massive amount of it. There's not just certain.
not as many for Native Americans, maybe for Black people, but yeah, there's a certain amount.
Do
for
you
each
see
particular
people from Western Europe? I don't know, coming through the border.
Not
No.
high numbers. No, it's mostly people from the South. But a lot of those people, see, that's the thing. Is like there's a long history. A lot of people from Western Europe took over those lands and interbreeded with those people.
Do you think
So you have
that's
a lot of
okay?
European
But in a mass amount. Now, I'm not opposed to I'm not opposed to immigration as a whole. Legal immigration, right? We gotta specify, because without legal immigration from Puerto Rico and Mexico, I wouldn't exist.
You
Now,
think?
if we have massive, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You weren't finished. I thought you were.
Yeah, let them cook. Let them cook.
No,
son.
I'm just trying to say a point. It's just like we did it legally. You know, like, we had a history. We have a history. We appreciate the integration and everything that we got. You know, it was a slow cooking process, or whatever you want to say, I guess. And yeah, we built a great family, and we were anyways, until things happened within the last like 10 years with well, let's just say multiple administrations on both sides. So it's but with this mass immigration is unprecedented, because now they're just pushing forward like way too many people at too great of a number too quickly, and they're going to just give them all this stuff, like for example putting up in hotels and giving them food and clothing and even haircuts and transportation, all these resources that we have to expend on these people. And
I
what
agree.
happens to our taxpayer dollars? What's going to happen to our working class, like our lower
Well,
middle,
let's say we
like
cut the number of immigration in half, though. Like I'm not taking a full-throated endorsement of how many people they're bringing in. I'm talking more about the fact that these people coming in are somehow replacing white people. That's all. We could cut the number of immigration by 75%, and then none of your points apply, and mine's still going to stand. That's core what I'm trying to address. Is they're not coming in to replace white people. A lot of them identify as white people and try to acclimate. Immigrants, in a lot of ways, acclimate more to this mythological idea of America that our politicians talk about, but we don't really live all the time.
so who
They
identify?
idealize that more.
So okay, so what do you think the numerical? What do you think? You know what? Just estimated. Do you know the amount of numbers that these people are coming in by?
Right now, yeah, a lot. I think 1.5 million illegals have come in since Joe Biden took office, and legally we're letting in right now, I think 1.5 as well a year. So a bit. Proportionately,
Yeah,
if you compare like our
it's a
immigration
lot
from
more.
the 90s, If you take our immigration though from the 90s and then our population side, I want to say it's pretty much the same per capita though.
What's your
No,
number, Riddle?
it's not. It's about it's about 4 point something million. It's about nearly 5 million since Joe Biden took office.
Yeah,
It's pretty
that's many
bad.
years.
It's been,
It's been almost 3
exactly.
years.
It's been way too many years. I'll tell you that
Wait,
much. It's been
could
about
you
three
send
and a half.
the article you got that from, Riddle, or like the study? I just like to see it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Let me
It's
just
seven-
fucking find that out real quick. Exactly where I
7
got it from.
million attempted illegal border crossings since Joe Biden took office. Only 1.5 million of them are in the
This is what
country.
you see, RW. This is what I was exactly talking about. Like, you gotta fucking just like you gotta stop everything you're fucking doing
I
and
didn't
find these
derail
fucking
you.
Google. No. I didn't say you. God damn it.
I'm
I said
derailing.
I gotta go to Google, put my Google pants on, and fucking.
Well,
just
if you
fucking-
don't have it, then don't. I just thought you had
Wait,
it and you were
I
reading
thought
No,
the
I don't have
If
it.
you
I don't
worry about it.
I don't come into debates like ready to Google shit.
Okay, I
Um,
don't either. Then don't.
If you want me to, I will. But this will take a little
No,
bit of
it's all
time.
good. I can find it on my own. I
I'm
just
a
thought you
little
had it.
All right.
confused.
If you can find it, then please present it because it's there.
Yeah.
I promise you it is.
I'm a
Mom's
little-
hitting dad at Christmas.
I'm a little confused because, like, at first I thought your problem was illegal immigrants, but now you're talking about how many people we're letting in, which I'm assuming you mean like
Yes, which
giving
are all illegal.
giving
They're all
green
illegal.
cards. No, so you don't have a problem with the
No,
number of people that
no,
are
they
getting green cards right now.
What's the number of amount of people that are getting
I
green
couldn't
cards?
do it,
Are they
actually.
applying for economic work, or are they applying for either asylum?
Well,
What are they applying
most of the people come in are applying for asylum.
Oh, okay. So if they're applying for asylum, why do they have to come to the United States for asylum and not economic work? Why can't they apply for asylum in another country?
My guess, and I don't know if this is true, but my guess would be is that most of them are trying to come here for work and asylum.
Okay, so it's
Hold on,
economic-
will
so
you
it's
wait,
not
wait,
asylum.
wait? Will you
It's
let
not
me? Will you
asylum.
let me finish? Okay,
I'm
most
sorry.
of them are coming in here for work, and asylum is their best chance to actually get to do that
Okay.
because there's no other there's no other path for them.
I don't expect them to know all the asylum rules, especially when you have NGOs from the
So-
United States and the UK there for fucking telling them, "Yeah, just go to America, you'll get right in." So I don't blame
Yeah.
them for that so much. They're just people.
Well, I understand. Yes, of course, they're just people. But see, you take the very warm-hearted front, and I understand we all want to be nice to people. I get that. But you have to be practical about your policies. Now, if you don't talk about the Remain in Mexico policy, which was actually the ability to apply in silence, it wasn't just going to the U.S. and then waiting in Mexico forever. No, you're able to allow to apply to asylum through all those countries that those caravans were going through, but they chose not to. So it's no longer about asylum from their countries that they're supposedly, under warfare or gang warfare or just whatever. It's no longer about that. It's about an economic situation. Then that's a completely
Yeah, the
different
onboarding
situation than
process
asylum.
crippling the economy. Yeah.
So what is this?
But we have a process for that.
What would be
So
the what would be the problem with if we had a system to let people come in here, apply for citizenship, get a background check, and then start working as a citizen?
There
would
would
be
have
the-
to be a line where if there's got to be a certain point where if too many people come in, we
No,
can't
it's too much. It's
onboard
too
them.
much bureaucracy. It's too much
Yeah.
bureaucracy. There's too much people. You would have to. First off, if you're talking about applying for all that citizenship, then you have to wait outside of the country. Otherwise, there's too many people. Because what happens is you wait for a court date, right? That you're supposed to be given a court date. They're supposed to follow the legal rules. And if these guys are just coming en masse just for economic work, they don't know the legal law system. First off, well, I would actually say that a lot of them do, but they don't abide by that. They don't they're afraid to be deported. They're afraid that they will just get pushed back or whatever for economic work. They feel like their trek that they risked would be in vain. Now, I understand that, but that means that they will not abide by our court systems. They won't show up for the date.
But Riddle, think
But s-
about it also in California where you've decriminalized stealing and stuff. Can you imagine the influx of that with immigrants as well?
Oh, I
He was
see it.
asking if they come in the right way. If they come in the right way, what's the problem with having more of them?
Oh, if they come up the right way, then that's fine.
But they're not.
But see, I would
But
argue against
they're
that. I
they're
would
not
say
on a mass level.
Well, there is no right way for them to come. Is the problem? Because that's why they're
Yes,
coming the
there
wrong way.
is.
There is.
Well,
There's a
you
line,
want
though.
you
They
talk
have
to my
to
family
do it.
about that then. How about that? You know,
There
Jesus
definitely
Christ.
is. There is definitely a right way for them to come in, but they have to wait in line. Right now, we're a little backlogged on immigration. That all being said, the reason why you don't want to let too many in at once are both economical and structural. You can overload areas, even big cities.
Exactly.
A lot of cities are worried about overpopulation right now. It causes the price of housing to go up because the supply is higher than demand. Thus, you can charge more for the housing, and thus people have to pay more. So you have to have a slow trickle and have to have them well spread out so that they don't upset housing markets. They don't drive down labor. Wages will drive down. Low skill labor, especially legal immigration. If you put too much in an area, you got too many people looking for fast food jobs and too many people looking for farm jobs,
Yeah,
and it drives the wages down. So you have
that's
to
a
have a
fact.
slow trickle. It has to be done algorithmically. To bring people in.
Facts.
That is a
And
fucking truth, and I'm seeing it
Um,
right here in my hometown. And you know what they're doing?
and
They're
then
displacing people from the cities, and they're building affordable housing in my towns, and where I grew up in. So now it's becoming not just a town; it's becoming a small city.
so we
the
have,
first
So
thing
it's
Trump did,
The
and these are
15
not
minute
the illegal
city
immigrants.
viewing,
They're
don't do
replacing
all
these.
that.
This is all government funded too.
I
Because I read
voted
the
for Bernie in
newspapers, the government
2016.
told us. Ah,
The first thing Trump did that turned me on to him was he revoked H-1B visas. And what those are is they can bring in, I'm a programmer, they can bring in people from other countries that take low-end programming jobs and basically export our programming jobs to India and elsewhere. And that directly affects my business. People's wages were getting hurt from it. So when Trump cut that shit out, I was like, oh, that's actually really good for me. Like, fuck yeah. And that was the first thing he did that like turned me on to him as a potential vote. And I ended up voting for him in 2020 for purely economic reasons.
Do you
Don't like his
regret it now?
personality. No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I stand by it.
so I think that immigration as a whole is economically beneficial to most people, except for low wage workers, in general. And I think that the problems that low wage workers are facing does not get fixed by getting rid of immigrants. I think that they need.
I
Doctors are
apologize.
also
Just
affected.
real quick though. I want to clarify. You said immigration.
Mhm.
I'm talking about mass illegal immigration.
Well, I mean,
Normal
the policy
immigration,
that I
legal
would
immigration is fine.
the policy that I would be more
That
inclined.
was me.
The policy I would be more inclined to support is allowing more people to come in legally, and just becoming citizens and working. Maybe there's could be like some kind of restrictions we put onto them. Maybe they can't go to the overcrowded cities and they need to live in places where we need the labor for a while before they can actually get the freedom to move. But I think that we need more paths for these people to be able to come in legally, and I think that that would probably help alleviate some of the problems that we have with immigration.
Riddle,
Okay,
it was me that took exception with legal immigration. That's why he's addressing.
Okay, yeah.
I'm the one that's complaining about regular immigration right now.
I think we just need to change the entire way how we let people in, not make it more lenient, but
think-
change it altogether.
I think it's. I think now, since we've already taken in too many at too quickly of a pace, 5 million in 3 years, and this is an approximate number, not exact, but millions in 3 years. Now at this point, I would actually agree with Cluck's position before this happened, but now it's too late. Like there's way too many now. So now you have to actually tighten the immigration controls.
Well,
And
we already-
unfortunately, yeah, you might have.
We already have pretty tight immigration controls. The issue is
We
the
do
issue.
not have any immigration. What are you
That's
talking about?
wait. Are you? Were you not here for our immigration discussion last week?
When you were defining
don't
open
believe-
borders,
Yeah.
Yeah, legal
Ah,
immigration
we
is pretty
disagreed.
regulated, and we took in 900,000 legal immigrants last year.
I think
So
you and
that-
Cluck are
I
talking
think
about
that-
two different things.
Well,
Legal
it's
immigration should be cut off. You don't even need stay in Mexico policy. All you need to do is say anyone who sneaks in can no longer retroactively apply for asylum.
we already do that.
and I think they
Oh,
should
no,
be
you can't.
deported.
We
Should
already
be
do that. We already do that.
No,
Where?
it's not
On what
an
level?
open-
All right, hold on.
It's not
You can
happening.
technically apply for asylum right now if you're caught sneaking into the country.
Wait. So after, so Joe Biden, first thing he did that got criticism from the left was he kept Title 42, which was and he deported 2.28 million people under Title 42. but he let it expire. But after Title 42, listen, after Title 42 expired, he did the app for the asylum seeker. He opened region processing centers in Latin America, and he also, he 62 a month about Mexico. Biden did not immediately. Huh? It's not chat. I have a annotated source document for this.
I got
But I got to find the source that talked about all the things that he did after Title 42. Oh, people who crossed illegally are deported, barred for re-entry for 5 years, and presumed ineligible for asylum, which was not a thing under Trump. Hold on, I'll put that in the chat.
I found it. I didn't know about this actually. This got past me. This was recent too. This was only a few months ago.
Yeah, this idea that Biden is this big softy on immigration, I think it's just a complete fabrication from the right. I actually don't like Joe Biden on immigration because he's too hawkish, in my opinion.
Well, it's funny, but God, like, you know what? This is like me, I don't know, giving you Fox News from the UK or something. How am I supposed to really trust the BBC News on their? You think this is accurate? You think it's not without bias?
Do you think that Joe Biden did not implement those policies and they're just lying about it?
Which
I have
policy
the
exactly is
Texas
it?
Tribune writing about it. If you
Hang on,
want it.
Tyler. Which policy exactly is it? How
The
does it do it?
policy
Does
where
this also include catch and release or what? Because you can have Title 42, but still use the catch and release.
okay, so no, he got rid
No
of.
rules that push migrants to seek asylum at official border crossings or through what is this? The Texas Tribune. Let's see.
Yeah, so this is what would take the place of catch and release. Catch and release would be, okay, we caught you and we're gonna tell you when your court date is and let you go. This is something that different. I don't know why. Maybe it's not implemented yet, but for some reason, a lot of people are still being pushed into the country and not legally. Legal migrants are taken care of.
This is okay.
Well,
okay.
hold on. People get pushed into the country because if you do come in and you apply for asylum at the point of entry, you're allowed to come into the country while you wait for your court date. This is for people who get caught crossing at non-points of entries.
Gotcha.
And most people who apply for asylum, they are looking for points of entries to apply. It's like this situation isn't like this black and white. All of these people are doing this one thing, and
so you truly believe that there is no immigration problem right now?
no, I believe there's a problem. I think that the solutions that a lot of people are trying to.
No. Mass immigration. You think there's a problem with the immigration policies that are being implemented, right? Or I should say lack thereof.
I think that we should be implementing more paths to citizenship.
Yeah, how would you go about that?
So I would have to have a really in-depth discussion with somebody and potential problems of my plans, but I would probably start with some arbitrary number that's based off of economic analysis of what the United States can actually handle letting in, and starting with that number and raising that number of people that if you come in, you go to a port of entry, you can apply for citizenship. As long as you pass a background check, you have the citizenship. We let a certain amount of people that qualify in that way in, and we try to raise that number as much as possible so that people don't have reasons to try and take advantage of.
Already reached that number. If we've already reached that number now, what do we just? Can we put a hold on everything?
I don't think that we have already reached that number.
So
Like I think that immigrants
we haven't reached that number even now.
No, I think that immigrants concentrating themselves in certain cities is putting a strain on local economies, and that's absolutely true. But I think that it can be solved by a better coordination with the federal government as to where these immigrants go, instead of just putting them all in the border towns or the liberal cities that they're being bused to.
So
Well, yeah,
force them
you
into
mean you mean you
conservative
mean
cities.
you mean you mean the cities that actually said that they were going to be sanctuary states for these
So
people?
a
And
sanctuary,
now they're complaining about it.
a sanctuary state is not a state that says that I want the border states to just bust the people that they don't want there. A sanctuary
Oh.
state is just a state that doesn't work with ICE in order to deport people. They don't. They still don't. They still don't want these people to be. Wait. Hold on.
Really?
They still do not want these people to be deported. They want more federal aid to help with the housing them.
Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Then you guys deal with it. How about that? And I
No,
don't
we're
mean
not
you personally,
dealing with
Gluck.
this bullshit.
Then why don't you
I mean,
deal it like I didn't vote for like a state that's not a sanctuary state shouldn't have to deal with it that claims to be a sanctuary state. But now these sanctuary states are getting all these things that are bust over, not nearly as much as Texas is just getting naturally. Now they're just complaining about it. Like for example, Eric Adams is this will destroy New York. This will destroy New York.
Yeah, so
And now you're getting this guy.
Eric Adams' solutions to this problem is not putting Bowies with barbed wire in the Rio Grande in order to try and, I guess, what's his goal? To try and drown people before they get here?
I would much prefer that because that would definitely deter the coyotes and the cartels from actually human trafficking.
It doesn't though. And when you
It does a little bit of
no, it
force
does
goes a
not.
long way with
It
people that use
doesn't.
force as a living.
You don't understand.
It really
It
does.
is great. It is great to watch the people voting for the policies that led us to this kind of have to eat their words now.
They're not eating their words though. Holy shit! They don't want to. They absolutely are not. They are simply asking. They are simply asking for more federal help to help take care of these people. They are not trying to. They are not trying to deport these people. They are not trying to work with ICE to deport these people. That is what a sanctuary city is somebody who does not work with ICE to deport immigrants, and they are still holding to that. I don't see how this is like eating your words.
Why can't? Because they claimed for it and now they're complaining about it. They said that they were going to be a sanctuary state.
They're record.
Summary statements. Their exact words were a little different than your summary. Your summary statements are accurate. That is what sanctuary cities are. But their exact words were something more along the lines of New York City is a safe place for immigrants. And now it's like, oh, fuck. Look at all these immigrants. Get them out of here.
They're not saying get them out of here. Hold on a second. That's very important. They're not saying.
That's what the local populace is saying.
No,
and guess
on,
who's
okay, but Eric,
guess who is saying that? It's mostly the black vote. That's what they're complaining about the most. They're the ones being most displaced.
I'm sure. Like the black community is a very conservative community. I'm not surprised by that.
No, it's not.
It is a very conservative community.
They overwhelmingly vote Democrat.
But that's because Republicans are not very good at making themselves out to not be racist.
Oh my God! What do you mean? So what do you?
You don't think most black people believe that Republicans are racist?
Black people, yes.
Okay.
Just voters in general. Democrat voters, absolutely.
I don't think that most conservative voters think that Republicans are racist.
What was that, Cliff? I didn't hear you.
I said I don't think that most conservative voters think that Republicans are racist.
Well, no shit.
Neither do independents, though. Independents are the biggest group that matter the most. The one that everyone's trying to go after. They don't think Republicans are racist either, for the most part.
Yeah. But like, so anyways, what I'm saying is that Democratic cities are still pretty welcoming to immigrants. They just want help taking care of them.
No, it's the leadership, it's the politicians that control those cities that are welcoming to them. It's not the local populace that is appreciating of that.
Okay, well then they'll vote out the leadership.
Okay, sure. That would be happening in the next elections, I suppose.
Yeah.
As this problem grows, that will be a thing.
All right, we'll see.
It's not, though. In Chicago, we saw
and we'll see. And we'll see. How about that?
Lori Lightfoot already gets out of office, and they vote in somebody even more radical.
He's
blaming Kia for cars being robbed. He's blaming the fucking car manufacturers for robberies spiking in the city. It's fucking crazy.
It is ridiculous. I thought Lori Lightfoot was bad. This guy's even worse.
One thing that these governors are also governors and mayors are also saying is that they want to be able to allow the migrants to work sooner and faster, which is complete opposite of what.
Which is a problem.
Why?
Because so then you're replacing the local workforce.
The local
but if you work like that, if you import all these people and you replace the local workforce, then what are you going to grant them after that?
I mean,
You're gonna grant them the right to.
Post-COVID, we saw a lot of people drop out of the workforce. Right now, we have a really high a low labor participation percentage, and with high inflation, you'd expect to see more people get in the workforce. But a lot of them stayed retired post-COVID, so we do have a lot of job openings right now.
that's what I was about to say.
Especially in low-skill labor.
Especially in low skill
A
labor.
lot of job openings for what?
Low skill labor, especially a lot of restaurants are seeing that they're not able to hire staff adequately.
Oh, not yet.
right now
Not
there's, like-
until they hire. Do you think these people that we're being replaced with, you think they're going to be able to speak English well and apply for those jobs? No, they're going to
Some
apply
of
for the
them, they're
manufacturing
aware.
jobs. They're going to outplace. They're going to destroy the manufacturing industry. Anybody that's has any lick of speaking English, they did it legally. They're going to destroy not the service industry because, well, actually they will because they're gonna be I don't know, replacing everybody that does your yard work and all that stuff,
Yeah.
or all the state's yard work, all the construction for the state that you don't have to speak the English, you don't have to talk to the public. You just work for the state, right? You see
So
all
the
those
next
people,
step,
and guess
though-
who they all are? Guess who they
The
all
next
are?
step, though, in policy. What do you do to fix this? What do you do to solve this? And a good president right now would step up and not shun Texas. They go into Texas and work with them to distribute these migrants in a way that actually doesn't hurt the local economy.
I
Texas is
agree
a
with
great
that.
I would agree
There's-
with that
yeah.
too, but they don't do
But see,
that.
it should be being done right now. That's what we call our politicians and advocate for. You know, like there's border towns in Texas that have like 30,000 people with 10,000 migrants in their city. It's completely destroying their economy in Texas, especially in border towns. It's been
Yeah.
documented time and time again. So it is funny to see New York flip out about a small percentage per capita when these border towns are seeing like 50% increases from just migrants. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the things I said at the beginning is that there needs to be a federal effort to be able to distribute the migrants in a way that makes more sense to the local economies.
Okay, but if the federal government doesn't want that, then they won't do that, which they're not doing it.
That's the criticism I have of Biden.
I'm
English
sorry,
should
what?
be mandated as well. Yeah, that's a
Criti-
criticism of
critici-
Biden. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not just him, but the administration as a whole. Because it's not just him, like advocating for it. I mean, the man can barely speak.
And the candidate representing the biggest party, the Independents, RFK Jr., he would fix that.
All right, I'm gonna hop off of here, get some ice cream, and go to bed.
Ice cream before bed sounds like a good life choice.
You eat a lot of ice cream.
I
All right.
love ice cream. It's my favorite food. It's that and pizza.
So, Cluck, so
Alright.
you're admitting that you're backing out and you lost the argument?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Fork.
no, he's
I'm
not.
just
It's okay.
joking. I'm
He's
just
just
joking.
tired. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right, y'all have a good night. It's fun.
Hey, have a
But you
good
did.
night,
Cluck.
But you did lose.
I badly, so badly. Yeah.
Just kidding.
See you,
I'm,
Cluck.
I'm,
Nice
I'm,
having
I'm
you.
kidding. I'm kidding. See you, Clark.
Alrighty, y'all heard what I'm gonna do. Head off, get some ice cream, go to bed.